have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
And welcome to episode 372 of Sports on the Hill podcast. It's going to be a very hockey-centric show, as well as a draft special. I want to welcome everyone in. Thanks to my dad, who liked the dive video and was a part of that dive. And thanks to Tina French for the resub and joining and chatting with me in the preliminary time of the show live. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun show. We'll have live look-ins to the NHL and NBA playoffs as well. And then in hour 2 at 10 o'clock live, we will be talking about the draft. I've got a bunch of different guests coming on, talking about a bunch of different segments there. We'll have Champ and Dugenet talking about the draft from the Commanders' point of view, and then we hope to have Tim on to talk about the Ravens' point of view after that. And anybody that wants to talk about that in chat is welcome. So yeah, first hour, hockey talk. Second hour is NFL draft talk, and then we will also get into some other topics as well. We'll also do the live look-ins, as I was talking about. And in the third hour, we'll talk about the NBA playoffs more in depth. We'll also talk about the Defenders and their incredible win this week. We'll talk about DC United and a little baseball with the Nationals and the Orioles as well. The Orioles are currently beating the Yankees, so hopefully that can continue. And we'll talk about the Nats game that was earlier today as well. So we will. I want to introduce all of our guests for tonight. We've got Anna Knox returning. How are you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to be back. It's good to see you, Robbie. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while, and I hope that the staycation was great. I enjoyed the podcast explanation of it, and if you're missing context, you can go back a couple episodes and check that out on the.
It was, although I did put my apology message out there that I was like, wow, I had a lot to say apparently that opening. God, Gil, please, next time, let's just shave that down a little bit.
People believe it or not, some people actually like hearing that stuff. So
I'm one of those people.
I'm also one of those people. So there you go.
See, I'm glad, because I listened to it. I was like, fast forward 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
And if they don't, they have that option.
Right. That's very true. I think too often we think about that people can jump around on these shows, and it's why on my live shows I actually show what sport we're talking about in the graphics. So if you don't care about one of the sports, you can just skip that part in the VOD or whatever. And that's why I'm now switching to a visual only show. I'm not doing the audio podcast anymore. I may go back and save some of the old ones. I did do some of the work and clipped them and did the work, but it just takes so long, and I don't know. Anyway, people seem to enjoy the video component, so I'm going to stick with that for now. But I love listening to you guys while I do other stuff, and so especially after the win, because I waited, I didn't listen to it before, but it was kind of a cool perspective to get on that. So we also brought in C4 returning in. I also enjoyed Marcus's crazy podcast that he did over on YouTube. I was lurking on that. So it's a wild time over there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, she's a part of, let me just do the command for C4 in chat. But this Kerm Off the Chain podcast.
It is called Off the Chain for a reason.
Yes.
And we do the occasional live stream, which I do believe is also recorded on YouTube. So you can go back and watch some of those, which is also quite interesting. So if you want to get insight to what we're kind of like at the games when we're actually at the games, although I get a little saltier at the games than I do when I'm watching on TV.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I feel that. Oh, the Florida Panthers have tied the game with the Lightning 2-2 with 12:58 left in the third period. So it'll be.
But it's under review, and you know what? I think this is going to be called back.
Oh, okay. See, this is why it's good to have Gil instead of scoreboard, right? That its context clues are important. So, so thank you, Gil, for that update. And we also have Gil on, and he had a great episode of the Power Play podcast. Why don't you let people know what was in this week's episode while I share it to a couple of quick groups?
Yeah, so real quick, we went over basically the first 3 games of the series. Since we recorded on Saturday. Since the game 4 was on Sunday. So we went over the first 3 games, and there was something that happened in one of the games, and basically, doing our best to kind of keep hope alive amongst Caps fans. And it's as it turned out, didn't really need to, but just a rundown of the 3 games, what went wrong, what didn't go right, and what really went right, and it's just as only we can present it. So that's basically what it was.
Yeah, I think it was actually a really great summary, and it gave me a lot of perspective. But I'm happy that Game 4 went a little bit of a different direction than I and Gil were dreading in our messages back and forth to us after Game 3, which is understandable. And a lot of these Caps groups that I'm actually sharing to you right now, a lot of them are very doom and gloom. And I also understand that because we've seen this game before, and everybody is like immediately goes to torn ACL, he's out for the season, right? That's the worst case scenario. I also went there, so I can't blame people. I try not to be as vocal about it because it's hard to take that back when you get too vocal about it. But I'm happy it was not as big of a deal as some made it out to be. But we didn't know that at the time. So, but we will get into all the games. We're going to talk about. I'm going to see if I can actually share my screen right now, and then we can just get right into the games because there are a lot of goals to break down. Let me see here, and then I have to share the screen over there. And I think we're good. All right. Gil, why don't you take it away with the first goal of the game 2?
Okay, so this was the Caps had found themselves down 1-0, gave up the first goal in game 2, and then came this not long after. That's a good answer by the Caps here, picking up the play, scrum in the corner here. Radish has the puck, he's holding it and gets it over to McMichael. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one where he was holding it and he shot the puck at Montembeault, and he got the rebound, and then he shot it again, and it went off a defender and into the net. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, that's how this one went. And it's prevailing opinion is that right there. There's another imposter with a similar name playing on the other side of the continent who some believe is the best player, but with that name, but we know a lot better. This guy's on a bit of a tear here, second only to Ovechkin in goal scoring for the Caps. This happened to be his first of the playoffs, but spoiler alert, there would be more.
Yep. All right. Well, Anna, what were some of your thoughts on this first Connor McMichael goal?
Well, I was so happy to see him back. I think once he starts, it's just gonna go. It's just gonna continue, and I love it. I love his confidence. I love his playing. He plays smart hockey. And I think what we're seeing right now is just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what we're gonna see in the upcoming series.
Yeah. I want to thank Connor McMichael because he was an inspiration for me to get the kids to bed because we were, I told them we got to go up between the first and second intermission and go to bed, and then I'll come down and root the Capitals on really hard in the second period for them, right? That's what we agreed to. We got distracted. Things happened as they do. The 17 minutes flies by very quick. And immediately, 1 minute and 16 seconds in, they score. I'm like, oh no, they scored. We got to run. And so they're all like running up the stairs. And as I'm putting them to bed, so I don't see this live, obviously, I rewind it and watch it later. That Connor McMichael goal scored. And then another goal is scored as well. So I'll let actually I'll get C4's thoughts on this one first, the first one, and then we'll get into the kind of
like Anna said, it's great to see him back. He tends to show up a little more in the playoffs, I think. He did it in Hershey when he was down there. He's doing it last year. He's doing it again this year. He really does step up and make those goals happen. And if he's not scoring, he's somehow involved in the play somewhere along the way to make a goal happen. So I've really enjoyed watching him this playoffs. And like Anna said, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think if he can carry this momentum on, we'll see really good things out of him in the coming years.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the second goal, just because we've got a lot to cover in an hour. But this next one was a really beautiful one by Dylan Strome, and I'll let Gil take it from there.
Okay, picking up the play. So Carlson picks it up in the zone. Nice pass to Leonard. Now, back up, if you can back it up a bit before the goal, Robbie. I want to focus on something. So hold it here. So you've a little before that, you see how, so number 9, Leonard, he's drawn 1, 2, 3 defenders to him and holds it because he's held it just long enough to make the pass and draw those defenders to him, leaving both Strome and Beauvillier covered by one guy. Yeah. And of course, both of them can put the puck in the net. Strome gets it, or Leonard rather, gets it over to Beauvillier. And as you can see here, Strome is past the defenders and has a clear shot and puts it in. And for that, he's earned the nickname Stromzini because he's magical with the puck. I am not kidding. That in the locker room, that's what they call him.
Okay, not your locker room.
No, that's from if I follow Sammy Silber on Twitter. She's the beat reporter for the Hockey News for the Caps, and that he's picked up that Ovechkin crowned him with that name. I still don't know the origin. Zini sounds like an old magician's name, the end of an old suffix of an old magician's name. So I'm imagining that's from.
Yeah. That's great. Anna, what are your thoughts on Dylan Strome's first goal of the
I'm just going to stick with Dylan Strome. God, how can you just not? I'm like at a loss of words. Like for number 17, like he has been fantastic, and Ryan Leonard just seems to have merged in with this team in such an amazing way. I love to see it, and I'm just glad that when Gil and I spoke a couple weeks ago about Beauvillier, that I was pro. I was like, yeah, I feel like he's going to really pull through, and we're going to hear his name a lot during the playoffs. So I have to say I'm relieved, and I'm happy to see that he's also doing remarkable.
Yeah, he's a money player. We talk about this a lot, and that's when the lights shine the brightest, he's the one that gets to the top. But man, it's so funny though because Ryan's not scoring goals. People are like, oh, it's not that, and I just like they're not seeing what he's offering the rest of the ice and what he's doing to set up plays, and he's doing all the right things and saying all the right things. And here's the thing, he's taking a lot of abuse because people think that it's the rookie and he's going to blow up, right? And they've heard the stories of him, being a bit of a guy that could, stand up for himself in the past, and he's not backing down by any means, but he's not engaging with the nonsense.
It's not a complete
and that's hard for a 20-year-old. That's not an easy thing. It's mature beyond his years, right? So good on him for not taking the bait.
Absolutely.
And because Tom Wilson, that age in the same situation, would have not been,
would have been done for the season.
Yeah, Tom would have been done.
Right. So, it's something to be said for that. Anyway, it's an important part. C4, what are some of your thoughts?
Need I say more? Dylan Strome. If you watch Leonard's play, this is his first playoff point, NHL playoff point, and Beauvillier, he really has just almost seamlessly fit in with this team for being a rookie. That's a hard thing to do, but that just shows his hockey knowledge and his adaptability to situations. And the goals are going to come. He has had chances to score in this series, and they have left him open. So the goals are going to come, and I wouldn't be surprised if he scores before this series is over. But Dylan Strome is Dylan Strome. What else can you say, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing phenomenal. So
I just love his play this year.
Yeah, and no one feels worse in the situation that happens with the goalies than he does, right? We'll get to it, but woof.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry, but I just think about all the good that he did. Anyways, Connor McMichael gets an empty net goal, which is important just because seals the deal in this one. And Gil, want to take it from there?
So let's watch and enjoy Connor McNuggets come up with the goal here, and just great pick by Dubois along the boards there. After Dubois picks it, or Wilson rather picks it away, and he's not going away. Don't forget about him. Spoiler alert again. A little more action from him a little bit later. It's nice to see you got your primary scoring with the top line, and here is your secondary scoring right here. So great to see him helping to get all the engines firing.
Yep. I did want to mention two quick things. Florida Panthers, you were right. The goal was reversed. And the other thing is Baltimore Orioles just defeated the Yankees 4-3. So congrats to that. And then the game that I'm barely mentioning because it's such a blowout, Cleveland is up 106-61.
Ouch.
Ow.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, in Miami, no less. That has got to hurt the home team.
Ouch.
Anywho.
That stadium's quiet.
Yeah. It's not even the fourth quarter yet.
Oh my gosh.
So anywho, I probably won't give a lot more updates on that one. But anyway, but we'll move on to the Connor McMichael continuing his scoring, but this time in a different country. Anyway. So Gil, we move north of the border and let people know how this one goes.
Get your passports ready and be ready to parlay that VU. So we start here, picking up the play. So Canadians, sorry, I got my colors mixed up again. So Wilson carries into the zone. Nice seam pass to Sandin, who takes the shot. Nice, juicy rebound to Roy, who shoots it. Another juicy rebound from him. And no. I tell a lie. Connor tipped it. That's how he scored the goal. So anybody want some nice wine? There you go. Because Montembeau was serving it up pretty good.
So yes, I love Connor McMichael scoring. I'll leave this one playing on loop. But Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this goal?
Yeah, once again, can't go wrong with a McMichael goal. But I am a huge Matt Roy fan. I don't know what it is. I feel like I want to keep hearing his name throughout the series, and I think it's great. And Sandin, good. Exactly where he's supposed to be, and I will take it. And this was a smart hockey goal. I liked this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to see the juicy rebound bottle. But
You don't like a good Cabernet Sauvignon?
I don't. I'm actually more of a Pinot Grigio girl, but that's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
No, you do, but don't even
Yeah.
think of a pun for that.
I would never. You know why? Because that's Mrs. Blue Liner's favorite flavor as well.
There you
go. Okay.
I say
flavor.
Taste.
I say flavor like I know anything about wines.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But yeah, great goal to start the game here.
Yes, I agree. D4, any other thoughts on the beginning of this game?
Started off good.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely devolved very quickly. But after having 2 goals scored against them, in pretty quick succession, it was nice to get back on the board here. And I thought this could be a really important goal because I thought this was going to change the flow of the game, but it did not. But Gil, what are your takeaway on this one?
So yeah, great to see Chychrun get on the board here. You're kind of wondering, was the 20 goals a fluke? This proves absolutely not. Great pick by Mangiapane in the corner to find him at the point, and he just fires it literally right through Montembeault here. So we'll pick it up again. Mangiapane does the work in the corner, seam pass, bang from the circle with that awesome shot that now we know that he's got.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple of quick things. Nick Suzuki on the power play was a great goal in the second period, and he was they got a goal at the very end of the first period that was kind of the carryover. So I just wanted to mention those two things. That was sort of had the momentum had been sucked away. This kind of was going to give us momentum, but once again, they score at the end of the period. That was going to take this away. So I just wanted to give people a sense of the ebbs and flows here through that second period. Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this second goal by?
Well, just looking at Gil's picture, it has that kind of William Dafoe creepiness to him. But I do.
Hence, right through you.
Truly. And if I was an opponent, I'd be like, the fuck. But I love it. But I love him coming back, and I think that what I had kind of starred when I think of this goal is just Chychrun's skill. And that's exactly what we needed to see. We didn't need fancy play. We just needed a fucking bullet. Like, let's do it. Let's see what you got. And regardless of the score and the outcome of this game, I have a feeling his momentum is also going to continue throughout the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got that Defoe creep look to him. So.
Yeah, that particular picture he does, but
yeah. Gil.
All right, I'll switch the score.
There you go.
But anyway, C4, any final thoughts?
Oh, I always love to see Chychrun score, but it was funny because that thing I don't know if you posted it. Somebody posted that they were playing like 20 questions with him and was it Duhaime? No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the thing that who knows who better
who knows who better.
Yeah.
And he made a comment in there that they both did, that their fathers made them both play offense and defense, because the question was which is harder, offense or defense. So it's nice to see that training, if you will, come through, because I think that makes him more valuable. Not only can he defend very well, but he can also, when needed, score.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's I like a good two-way defenseman. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I just think it's so crazy. People don't know this, that Duhaime and Chychrun played together as kids, and they grew up in the Florida system, through all the different levels. And then, like, I think the first game that they played together on the father's trip was back in Florida, and now they're playing, as Capitals together, and just a really cool experience that these two childhood friends get to somehow make their way to, the Capitals.
Full circle.
and their dads were their coaches, which is kind of cool. And so, but it's a fun story that I hadn't fully realized. I guess I missed some of that, when a lot of these articles and stuff were coming out. But it's just a cool thing to now, especially see them in the playoffs together and see Jacob be able to score because obviously he learned a lot, on the offensive side as well.
Yep.
So. All right. Unfortunately, it goes downhill from here with that Cole Caulfield, 1951. Just that bugs me. Like 10 seconds, just get out of the period.
Oh,
Like you get out of the period and it's tied 2-2. I think it's a very different game. I really feel
Yeah.
that way. And so then you have to claw back into it again. And my captain, as he's trying to climb for that combined legacy now goal thing where it's regular season and playoffs combined, right? That's the next goal that he's going for. And because getting the playoff alone one is probably out of reach. But the combined one's still in reach, which is kind of crazy. And so these count for that again because, people realize that the counter stopped, quote unquote. Well, not completely, at least. So these do count for both us as a team and for him in his legacy. And he tied it again. And Gil, take it from there.
Okay, so picking it up, TVR looks like is carrying and throws it to Beauvillier at the line. Quick drop to Strome and over to Ovi, and he charges the net with it. And like to see him get these type of goals because it means he's got that close in tight game, which you got to score these type of goals in the playoffs to be successful. Pretty good shot from him.
Look at this top line numbers. You got third goal for Ovechkin here, and then you got the fourth assist by Strome and a third assist by Bovey.
That top line is cooking.
Yeah, so I mean that's great to see, and it's really going to be interesting. I'm not going to talk about it now, but where do you slot in Protas, right? So like, what do you do? And so think about that, guys, as I will talk about that at the end of the show. But it's a good problem to have. Unfortunately, 2 minutes later, after this goal at tie that I thought was going to like regain momentum, oh my God, he scored! Everything is going. It just went severely downhill very fast. 4:17 a goal against, then 13:23 another goal makes it 5-3, and then a power play goal at the end where it's kind of the idea that if you killed it, maybe you can get some momentum, going back, and it just wasn't there. But Anna, what are your thoughts on the OV goal and then the inevitable collapse?
I really, really, really was thinking that OV goal was going to rally everybody. I truly did. I was like, oh, let's do this. This is,
I did too.
if we needed anything, we needed the captain to go out there and do what he does best and rally the troops, as they say. But I think what kind of killed us was that 1951 goal, was just kind of showing that we honestly, I felt like it was, at that point we're not playing 60 minutes of hockey as usual, and I kind of feel like we might have gone into this game a little arrogant, maybe a little too like, hey, we've got this. And so the end result was, I mean, it was just an absolute cluster F on everything. So I had hoped the captain scoring was going to be a good thing. But unfortunately, discipline was out the door on this game, and a bit disappointing as well.
What sucks is with 7 minutes left, Logan gets hurt also as part of this. And at the time, we were afraid of, what that meant. And part of me was like, man, 5 goals against, I almost wish that they had just pulled him at the 5th goal and just let Logan, clean up. And who knows, you change something like that, could get you momentum. Maybe the incident doesn't even happen, right? So, like, but I mean, it's hindsight. It's easy to say we should do things like that. We don't think he's going to get hurt by his own player with a cross check to the head.
Right.
So it's it was brutal, but I'm happy he was able to come back. But C4, what are some of your thoughts?
I was really hoping this would turn it around, but but then they had 5 power plays, and so I don't want to get too far on a tangent of the officiating, but according to Montreal, we were paying off the officials, but they had 5 power plays to our 2. So, okay.
Real quick scoring update. Ekblad ties the game.
Yeah, I just heard Marcus yelling.
And right,
they just came back and they've gone ahead, and
now they've gone ahead.
Yeah, they've gone ahead by 1. There's only 3:36 left in the game, and if that holds, they will go up 3-1, which means every series in the East will be 3-1.
3-1.
Wow, and
I just heard him yell again.
10 seconds later. It reminds me of the Kings Edmonton game. I know we won't have time to get into all the series, but the Kings had it won, and they fell apart to Edmonton and had 2 goals. Well, they questioned a goal. It ended up being considered right, and they then had to go on the penalty kill, and then 10 seconds after that, they lost the game. So,
irony of ironies, this very same game, Tampa's 2 goals were 11 seconds apart.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's
crazy.
You can't script that. Yeah. Oh, my dad said Tampa Bay scored 2 goals in 11 seconds earlier in this game, which I was not watching earlier in this game. So, fun fact from my dad there. Yeah, that's wild. So I guess turnaround's fair play. That's crazy. So 4 goals were scored in 22 seconds of play within this game. I mean, that's pretty wild.
That's the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right. So, all right, we're gonna skip ahead to the next game because I'm kind of done with this one. And so, Dylan Strome opens the scoring in this next game, and Gil, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, back at the Bell Center. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Not me. Okay, picking up the play. So. Beauvillier beats Lane Hudson to the puck and gets a shot on net. Strome there to pick up the garbage. And, we already know how great he is, but we can still talk about it. But, once again, great net front work by Beauvillier to direct it on net. And Strome, excellent trail on the play. This is what Beauvillier does. In the 2020, I want to say the 2020, one of the bubble series, against the Islanders. This is the Beauvillier I remember, and why the Caps picked him up, that they saw he could still do. And this is what I was hoping he could still do. And he's been doing all playoffs. Go to the net with speed. And let me just say this right now. I don't think there's anybody better in the playoffs from the corner to the goal crease than Anthony Beauvillier right now. He dominates that area of the ice.
Stop it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed.
Your partner of however many years may have gotten something right.
Yeah. So
it's rare that we agree on something, but when we do.
Yeah. No,
okay, I gotta get the score out just because.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Cleveland's up 123 to Miami's 69. 123 to 69.
Oh my God! Just stop stop the game at that point.
Right?
Seriously.
I mean, my God.
Bobby, can you give me 1 minute? I just gotta scoot off for 1 second, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
So
apparently it's 4-2 now. I just heard Marcus yell.
Yep. 4-2 Florida.
Wow.
Empty netter.
Verhaeghe.
Oh yeah.
Verhaeghe.
It's crazy that Tampa
Bay is a cuss word.
Yeah. It's crazy that Tampa Bay was the favorite team, obviously, but Florida obviously has that championship pedigree now.
I was gonna say apparently Florida has other ideas.
Yeah. Which I could see that happening. I thought that they were not as good as they should have been this season during the regular season. But there's always a little bit of a hangover effect from the Stanley Cup, and but obviously not when it matters most. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of almost like the Tampa Bay and the fact that they were able to get multiple runs in a row, but had like little dips, at certain times, but then were able to turn it on in the playoffs. Interesting series here. for sure. I'm gonna skip I was gonna get your thoughts on the Dylan Strome goal, C4.
Again, Dylan Strome. But it is nice to see them getting in and getting those rebounds. That was Monday night when we were at the game 1. That was one of my biggest things. Monty was leaving these gorgeous rebounds and nobody was going after him. So now they're starting to go after him, which is nice to see. But to be honest, after the first period, actually like the first half of the first period, I just could not watch the game anymore. I just couldn't take the fan base. I couldn't take it anymore. So I truthfully didn't watch the rest of the game. So I don't have much to contribute to this particular game.
Wow.
So,
I can understand it though. They were getting under my
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I literally went upstairs and turned my phone off. And
After it was 2-1 against us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't even think I waited till it was 2-1. I just couldn't do it.
They were kind of loud, and there was stuff that happened that didn't quite go our way that contributed to that.
And there were things that were being said and done,
but something would happen later that would turn all that around.
But we're the ones that are paying off the refs, right? Like,
yeah.
No,
the thing is like we were 0 for 5 on the power play, including a 5-on-3. So clearly,
that would be one of those things.
I think it was shortly after the 5-on-3. I went upstairs. I was like,
I can understand that. I kind of was thinking if we can't score on power plays and 5-on-3s,
and the crowd was just downright nasty. It wasn't even like they were just cheering on their team. They were. It wasn't. It's one thing if you're cheering on your team. It's another if you're just being negative.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't.
Right, because the 5-on-3 would have given us a 2-0 lead if we had scored during that, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And they scored on the power play, which is what I think's probably sent you packing.
Right.
So and then they scored again on the power play at the end of a period again, which is Cole Caulfield, who just seems to be invincible from just below the OV office, I would say, like a little bit more in at a more of a crazy angle. But he seems to have that shot down. It was very frustrating. And once again, when we're down 2-1, I waited the intermission. I told the kids, we got to go upstairs. We're losing again, and tried to bring back game 2 luck. And I was happy to see that it worked. I went upstairs. I was putting Zach to bed. We were doing it during the third period because I was like, he wanted to watch a little bit of it, and then it wasn't working. I was like, we just got to go upstairs, bud. It's like 3 minutes in. We're probably not going to win this game, but maybe if you go to bed, we can find. And right as I tucked him in, I went back downstairs, and we scored the goal 1 minute while I was up there with him. And I went back up, gave him another kiss. I said, it worked. We're tied. He was so happy as he went to sleep. So he thought it was tied. That's all he knew was this Duhaime goal, which is what I'm going to get into now. Or Gil is.
Okay, so picking up the play. So Chychrun starts it, and this is a nice little. I remember more to this play. Can you start it from the beginning? Remember a lot more. Okay, so. Right. Can you start it from the beginning again? Okay, so those little dots you see, that represents an airborne pass. And I don't know if you saw it, but something happened just before this goal. If we loop it back to the beginning once more, sorry, Robbie, look at the bottom of the screen. You see 45 kind of making his way, a little weaving and bobbing over to the bench. Yeah, that guy wasn't part of the play. You know why? Not because a dog was chasing him, but or playing pinball, but because a real big dog named Tom Wilson took a bite out of crime and knocked him on his butt and swung the momentum all by his lonesome.
So here we see 43 getting off right there.
Clip,
yeah. Well, I didn't want to glorify the hit, but it was a glorious hit. But it knocked him woozy. So if you
hold on, I'm okay with glorifying the hit.
Absolutely.
It was.
I've seen the replay of that hit. It was amazing.
It's a clean hit, but
Pain train.
certain people with a bias don't see it that way, but no, it was a
clean hit.
Not targeting the head, not leaving his feet, checks all the boxes, legal, clean hit.
Yep.
I've seen that. I've seen the replay of that.
Hold on, I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry. Sportsnet has a lot of clips. I remember it being on there because I watched it on there multiple times.
I've seen it on. I saw it on. I think I saw it on Facebook. Somebody had posted it on Facebook.
I
in
did.
One of the groups.
Oh, did you post it? Did you post it in the group?
I think I put it on either a power play or mine. Yeah.
I think it was in the power play.
All right.
It was fantastic.
I think I'm almost there. Hold on.
Let's see.
I've been going backwards. So it was, all right, here we have the interview with them. Oh, here it is. Haha. Okay. Yep.
I can hear it.
I heard it.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I queued it up correctly. So there you go. All right. So.
A big hit.
Kaboom.
Yeah, it is.
Centering. Period.
Kaboom.
Gorgeous.
A big hit.
Beautiful.
Centering. Period.
All right.
Honestly, if I can make a meme of that hit, and I don't know, maybe it was just me, but behind the Montreal goalie, there was some girl that was out of control. She got on my last nerve, and she was up against the glass, and she was trying, saying all this stuff to Tom and going off and whatever. I'm like,
I saw that too.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we all are passionate, but you just look like I'd fucking knock you out if I could. And so when I saw that meme, I was like, just her and that one, she had half a jersey of whatever, trash. That's what I'm gonna say. And I would have liked to have seen that as a meme because it just irritated me. But anyways, this to me, clean hit, and this was Pain Train 100% and shut that crowd down. It was gorgeous.
Absolutely. Turn the place into a library. So the actual goal here after that was that aerial pass to Duhaime initially, and then he shot it. And the reason I have a pinball thing at the end is it pinball-like action. And yes, it dogged because Duhaime is called Doggy by his teammates, as we'll see later on. He's Dewey too, but Ovi in particular calls him Doggy, and
because he eats the.
Well,
he's the paper.
That too. Let's keep going here. Let's keep the momentum going. But yeah, it was a pinball-like shot from Duhaime that bounced off a couple players before it went in.
Right. Ginger Dory, thank you for the resub. 30 months. That's incredible. And my dad said that the NHL announcers said that it was undoubtedly a clean hit.
Yeah.
What will Montreal do on Wednesday against Wilson? That's an interesting question that we'll have to dissect.
Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Run.
And the Colorado-Dallas game is about to start here, which is much better than the 135-76 game.
Oh my God, 135-76.
Yeah, there's 2:40 left. It's almost over. Anyway, on that, but yeah, it was a great hit. The reason it's clean is the guy wasn't looking up, right? He went through the shoulder. And he crouched, Tom Wilson's going through the shoulder, not through the head. Yep. And the guy's looking down and away, and he's letting himself be a vulnerable target. So you don't get to cry foul and put yourself up for, in a situation, basically.
No.
And so that's why they always say you have to keep your head up. And Pain Train for sure. A great goal here. Completely changes the momentum of this game because it ties the game. And then, let's get into this next goal because this is really the important one in my mind. But Gil, why don't you break this one down?
Okay, so actually, if you could hold it. Okay, so Van Riemsdyk starts the play. Okay, hold it right here, and you notice there's a little graphic on there that I put there just to emphasize things. Nice little stretch pass by Van Riemsdyk. over into the neutral zone, into the Canadiens half to Strome, picked up by Mangiapane. Nice
How
little
many people go to
crisscross.
Strome?
Yeah, exactly. Nice little crisscross play here. Mangiapane has a screen in front of him, makes perfect use of that, and we're all eating bread thanks to his efforts.
Yes, I think he is incredible, and heck, if 8 is good, double 8 is even better, right? So
Yeah.
There we go.
It's an important goal. His first of the playoffs. Dahlstrom's 5th assist already. Trevor Van Riemsdyk's 2nd assist. Really kind of changed the game. Silences the crowd, right? Because the crowd thinks they just need to get the next goal, and it'll be like Game 3 all over again. And this was such a key goal for sure. Anna, what are some of your thoughts on it?
Well, I was glad because Mangiapane was, like you said, 88. So I think sometimes the opposing team is looking at number 8, looking at 43, like they've got certain numbers, and this guy wasn't even on the radar of someone that was going to score, and I loved it, and I love that we can say TVR, with his 2nd assist so far. I want to say his name.
Stepping up.
Say that one more time.
I said it's nice to see TVR stepping up again.
Yeah.
And getting back in the game. I mean, not that he wasn't in the game before, but it's nice.
But we weren't talking about him as much.
Yeah, it's nice to hear
I'm glad this was number 2, and again, hats off to Strome, but Mangiapane, and I hate the fact that it's like there's always like, well, he's such a little guy. Who cares? He's a badass player, and look at him go.
But he's also the fresh legs on this play, right? So he's coming on right here as the play develops. You actually see the exchange right there. So it's really Ovi.
Yeah, because I think Beauvillier was going off.
Right, exactly. So that's an important stat because they're still tracking Ovechkin. He's got to watch Ovi, right?
Yeah.
28 here. And then this, 17's now drawing 3 guys. So this is... He's wide open, right? They're eating up 4 people. I mean, that's pretty crazy when you think about it. And
they're expecting they're expecting the pass to Ovi. They're not expecting it to Manj.
Exactly, to Mangiapane, and that's why I think it's great. He's not one that they're looking at, and good for him.
Well, what lost in all this is in the process, the defender, the 28, the defender ends up screening his own goalie, so he doesn't get a clean look at it, and I think that was key.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point right there. I think that he screened it. The goalie's got to be paying attention to Ovechkin. Needs to know that he's where he is because he can get a slap shot off at any time. And so it's just all crisscrossed and a really important goal. And it really shows how well the guys are playing on different lines when they're moving around, which is, I think that people were giving Carberry a little bit of crap in the end of the season for playing around with the line so much, and they're like, why is he doing this? But it really reminds me of what Trotz was doing at the end of 2018, just trying everyone to get to play with everyone at the end of the season because the games don't matter, and so that way that chemistry could be helpful in the playoffs. And yes, you might lose some games down the stretch, but that doesn't really matter. And at least it's not the first time that they played with them in 6 months or something. So so I think that is coming and paying dividends now, so which is a really good thing to see. C4, any thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, like I said, I'm seeing it here for the first time.
You turned it off. I forgot. And then Duhaime gets another goal here. This is an empty netter. I'll let Gil break that one down.
Okay, so picking up the play, another turnover by our favorite, second favorite Hudson. So, Lane gets it here. Duhaime forces the turnover to Dowd, and we call that a pizza. Thank you for delivering. And so Dowd takes it 2-on-1 over to Duhaime, pots the empty netter.
What I love about this play, I'm going to break it down a little bit more. So, Nick Dowd thought he was going to get an empty net goal, right? Because he goes just rush this way. But then he sees Duhaime streaking this way, and he makes the correct play, right? And I think that too easy as it would have been, he went right here, he had it. He could have shot it right here, but he's south of the red line. He misses, and when they touch it, it's icing, and who knows what happens, right? So important play to take the line, get past it, and then at that point, 48 was cheating over to him, right? So he has time to make the choice of, am I going to shoot it myself, or is he going to block it? Now 22, Brandon Duhaime is open, right? So give it to the open guy. By that time, 48 tries to get over, but it's too late, and yeah, eating...
I love that.
Did they keep eating them for even the fourth one after they lost game 3? I didn't see it on the insert because I've been watching those on Facebook, so I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure he does that before every game.
Nice. I love that. And keep doing it. Anna, any thoughts on this goal?
Yeah, I do know that Nick Dowd was quite frustrated in this game, and I wanted to see something positive come his way, and if it was this assist, that was okay with me, because I feel like he was kind of a target. They were definitely looking for someone to poke, unfortunately, and I felt like he was kind of getting the brunt of it. But this is why we signed him for another 2 years, because he has got, some, not just the skill, but he plays smart, and he knows exactly where he is on the ice and where his teammates are.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Tom Wilson does get an empty net goal and celebrate, but I do want to say that there was a score that just happened here for the Stars. Wyatt Johnson scored 9 seconds into the match, which is wild. I didn't see it with you guys, but that sounds really interesting. Because I was like, how have they already scored? We're 15:34 in. Okay. And turns out he could score 9 seconds in for the home team for Dallas. So anyway, going back to the last empty net goal, this one was basically they ripped it off. McMichael passes it over to 43, almost a carbon copy of the last empty net goal. But this time, I was screaming at the TV. I was so excited for him. Oh, this one we get to see. I love that.
Exactly.
Thank you, Gil, for including that. And so I love this, but I wanted him to skate to the center of the ice and just flex on them. You know, like the old school, flex that he did. Yeah. I was chanting. It's like flex on the sea. I was like, I wanted it so bad just to hear the boos rain down on him. I mean, it'd been like.
I don't know. I kind of like this getting up in the face better, though.
Yeah, I did too, but I don't know. Like, they would have been livid if he went center ice, right, Gil?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
If it was Wednesday night and we won, and then I would be okay with it. But I'm like, I don't want to rock the boat too much.
Oh, they've talked so much shit. Like, honestly, they're getting up there now on my most hated list.
Yeah,
I'm pretty impressed. We haven't played them since 2010, which I hate.
They have become the most entitled, spoiled fan base ever. Yeah. It's like, don't even you other people, you are nothing to us. You know nothing about hockey. We invented the game. You don't deserve to breathe the air that we breathe.
Right.
You know, not Pittsburgh, the Rangers. You know, I've never encountered this kind of behavior from any other fan base.
No.
They have shown themselves to be the absolute worst. Yeah. And I'm going to assume that this is going to end our way, and it when and if it does, they deserve everything they get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100% behind you.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I know Sherilyn, like you left. I was getting fired up. I muted the game. I couldn't handle the taunting. It was just all of it.
Relentless on our goalie. Like, I understand taunting after a goal or whatever. I've heard that, and I've heard even some, but it was just like the whole game, which I just kind of always feel like disrespectful at some points.
Right. You have your chirps like, ref, you suck, and then
chirping is one thing.
Well,
I can live with the chirping, but
Logan, Wilson, OV. It was just like, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Like, the absolute worst was when Logan got hurt.
When Logan went down.
Yeah.
So classless. I understand that it was a former goalie of yours coming on the ice next, but like, don't boo then. You have to have some sense of what's going on in this game.
Right.
Yeah, it's customary. It's customary to when a player comes off the surface,
Right.
and
You
they're helped
applaud
off.
them.
You applaud that
Yeah.
they're
Yes. They're
seemingly
going to be
okay
okay.
enough. Right.
At least do that
None of that.
Right, none of
No.
that. At least do that at first, and then you could boo the goalie replacing him because there's going to be an
Yeah.
announcement anyway. Like,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
the boo
Well,
from the
well-
beginning is classless. And
Yep.
We were beside ourselves here. I mean, we were actually, I think we were live streaming that game. We were beside our Marcus. I thought poor Marcus was going to have a stroke. He was so beside himself. It was
It was disgusting
horrid.
and
It was one of the most
appalling and-
disgusting thing I've seen in any sport, bar none. You
Agreed.
do not boo a downed player. I don't care if they're your worst enemy.
No.
You don't boo them.
No.
yeah, it was pretty bullshit for sure. Game 5 is between the Capitals and Canadiens, with the Caps up 3-1. Is at 7 o'clock, and it's still being shown on Monumental as well as ESPN.
Yeah.
And then a game, if necessary, to be determined time would be Game 6 on Friday, which I hope is not necessary. And if even more things are necessary, then we would have a Sunday game, also time to be determined. So hopefully we don't need any of that, and we get it done on Wednesday. I know that we're running a little bit late, and I apologize to my football guests, so I'll try to do this quickly. Anna, your one key to victory on Wednesday.
Discipline, 100%. They have got, and I know that we're back in Cap 1, but you know what? They have got to have their head in the game and not let the,
Distractions.
Yeah. I was going to say distractions, taunting, but we're not going to have it as much. But still, the players are going to be saying stuff just to poke. And I think we handled ourselves so much better in this last game, and we just have to continue it and play 60 minutes and be disciplined.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. C4, final thoughts.
Agreed. Play the game. Play your game. Don't let them get in your heads. Keep it simple and play hockey.
Yeah.
And we've got this. I
Yeah.
mean,
We're the better team if we don't get into the extracurriculars, which by
top
the
to
way,
bottom, we're the better
Yes.
team.
both teams got fined for extracurriculars before the game. Certain players got fined for extracurriculars before the game.
I find it amusing. McElrath got fined for having words, and he
Right.
didn't even play
he didn't
in
even
the
get to
game.
play in the game.
It was just during warm-ups,
to get a
and he
fine.
got fined. But
yeah.
Whatever. But don't let that, that's
No.
done. Put it away. It's done. Focus on this game. Play this game and stay in the game. Keep disciplined. Don't worry about game 6. Focus on game 5 and just play the game. And Marcus will be at that game. I'm not going. I am not going because I have a track meet on Wednesday. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, good luck for that.
Thank you.
Gil, final thoughts.
I'm going to channel a character a caricature I've played on this show before. TCB, baby. Take care of business. Know what I mean?
Gilvis.
Yes.
Good old Gilvis.
I'm not, but in all seriousness, take care of what the ladies have just said. Both of them, echo them both. Play your game. Stay disciplined. If you stick to that, there's no way they can lose. Montreal is playing a little man's game by instigating. You play your game. They know they can't win, so they have to play their little man's game by sneaking in infractions and hoping, and this is called being a power play merchant, by hoping they get the power play, because that's the only chance they have to pile on goals is when they have the man advantage.
Yeah, 5-on-5 we've rushed them this season. Yeah. They've beaten us on almost all power play goals.
Right.
So.
Stick to your game and keep it 5-on-5. Make the most of your chances. There's no way they can lose.
I agree. I was there in Game 5 in 2010, which is why I will not be there for this Game 5. But don't let that happen again. I beg of you, Capitals, just
don't.
finish them that day. Do not, let them off the hook. But I really appreciate Anna, Gil, C4, all of your time, and hopefully it'll be a positive thing that we talk about it next week. We will have lots of updates throughout the week on our podcast page as well. But thank you to the three of you all season long and the postseason, and we'll hopefully talk to you guys all next week.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Sounds
Go
good.
Caps.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
All
Go
right, have a good one.
Caps.
All right, with that, I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to talk a little bit of Commanders and draft, and we're going to bring in Dujanet Bland and DC's People's Champ as well to be a part of the conversation. And Dujanet, I appreciate the patience. A lot to break down with the NHL playoffs, as you know, but equally exciting. We got some new fresh picks by the Commanders and I loved our first pick. Just protecting our we finally got our franchise quarterback. We figured that out,
Right.
and we now need to protect him. And so, what were your thoughts on? First of all, how are you doing? And what were your thoughts on that?
Doing great, man. Busy as always. This race season, so I'm everywhere right now. With this draft stuff, just adds a little bit to it. But yeah, I had to come on and give you some time so we can talk about this wonderful draft and all the great news that's going on with the Commanders right now.
Yeah, lots of great news. DC's People's Champ has been sharing with me all day. They've got a new stadium that is at least in the works. They still need approval by a lot of constituents. I want to stress that the Capitals tried to do something similar, not that long ago, and it failed. I do think the DC government kind of wants it more than the Virginia government did, and also constituents for that. Oh, we lost Champ, but he'll be back. But I'll ask you this, Dujanet. Do you think that this will pass? I know it's a little early, and do you like what you're seeing so far from this deal?
I do. I think it will pass. Look, I think it's not a secret that DC would like to have the team back where they feel it belongs. I feel it belongs at that site with all of the Harris group, has had this grand plan to basically bring some beauty along with a great stadium to that area that really needs it. It would bring jobs. It's bringing housing. It really improves the value of people's property around it. I see this passing. There's nothing but good that can come from this. There's so many great things. You look at the National Harbor and what that has done just outside of the city there. To bring that type of atmosphere and to continue what we do have there in DC with a lot of things you can walk to and enjoy with the cherry blossoms and other things there in downtown DC. To add this to it, right over there, you've got Audi Field, you've got Nats Park. This is great, and I don't think there's always going to be negatives, but the one thing they have going for it, there's still a subway stop there. So I think that's huge. People can use that to get to the games. It's going to be a little bit easier, but it's just all the amenities, all the things outside of just being a football stadium, which makes it great that this thing will be used all year round, even when football is not going on. And I think that's huge revenue for the city.
Yeah. Welcome back, Champ. We're just chatting about some of the news coming out about the new stadium. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Okay. What the hell?
I got
here
you.
Twice.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah. You're fine, though. It sounds good. I'll just leave it.
Hang on. I got to leave because it's an echo.
Oh, okay. Got you.
There you are.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so when it comes to this new stadium, my first thought was this is going to be a hard sell for the city council, because they're already having to deal with cutting a large chunk of their budget thanks to Felon Orange in the White House. So already having to deal with that, and now potentially a new, very expensive stadium, which only is going to be 25% of public money. it might be a difficult sell for the city council. Do I expect them to possibly to approve it? Most likely, yes, but it will be a very hard sell because of what they have hanging over their heads. But I think it's a great move, especially because one of the things that they're going to have included in this stadium is a lot of parking, 8,000 parking spots, which will allow for tailgating. It's also literally like a couple of blocks away from the Stadium Armory Metro Station, so people can metro in and literally walk a much shorter distance than they would if they were at Northwest Stadium, where they have to walk at least 3 miles to get to the stadium. And then they're also setting up a ride-sharing network with that stadium, meaning Lyft, Uber, will most likely have like pick up and drop off points around the stadium to be able to pick up and drop off people who are going to the game and stuff like that, which I think is a massive, massive W as someone who is a Lyft driver myself. I have never, no, I can't say I've never. I have tried to pick up and drop off at FedEx Field when it was FedEx Field, and it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
The one time I did do a drop off there, it was when the game was getting ready to already start and everybody was already in the stadium. So the traffic was much better, but it is, it's a nightmare trying to get people to that stadium, right? So I think here, with all the options that you have in terms of Metro, and then they're setting up their network, this is a really good move, and it brings the team back to DC, and it brings, as Dujane, I heard you say, as I was coming back in, more revenue to the city, which they're going to definitely need. So I think this is a good move, but it's definitely going to be a hard sell to the city council.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was doing the math. We were watching Candy's show earlier, and she was, walking us through some of the, information that has been coming out about it, and it's 2,000 less parking spaces than the old one and 10,000 more people. So like they really got to get that ride share and metro thing right, because that that's you're 80% capacity from the one side, and then you're adding another 10,000 people to the thing. But I'm excited because it's going to be a dome, which could attract things like Super Bowls and Olympics, and
I think that's what they have to think about. I think that's what the council has to. Yep. I think the council has to think about that. Yes, 25%, but look at all the gain that's going to happen with all these of the events that you're able to have. I mean, WrestleMania alone brings in tons of revenue, and that's a 2-day event. Most people are there for at least 4 days, 3 days at the minimum. That's a lot of money being spent within the city during that time, especially with the different things that that WWE hosts. You look at the Super Bowl, you look at possibility that you could have the Olympics. I mean, there's just so many endless possibilities. So sure, yes, it's a little bit of an investment up front, but at the end of the day, if you look around at all these other cities, such as New Orleans, you look at California and what they're able to do. You just saw in Vegas, they were able to have, WrestleMania there. Likely will eventually have a Super Bowl there. Look, that's a lot of revenue being brought in. And it's, I think in this day and age, and we talk about it in drag racing as well, it is a time to think forward and think about a multi-purpose facility. And that goes for racetracks as well. You have to start thinking outside of the box and what you can bring in to keep that facility making money throughout the year. And with a dome of that magnitude, all the amenities and things that will be around to keep people busy and drawing people there constantly throughout the year, I think that's worth the investment of the little 5% that they're going to have to pay. They'll make that back quickly.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I've been honestly for almost a decade now, since the beginning of this show, wanted something at RFK's thing because I remember
Yeah.
those days. I went to concerts at RFK. I went to just even in the stadium grounds, they would have huge festivals because it's so much land. I don't
Yep.
think people understand how much land we're talking about
They
here.
don't.
And like
They
you
really
could
don't.
build a whole mini city in that area. Like it could be
Yes.
a whole like
It's
town,
huge.
you
And
know.
it's a lot of land.
As a lifelong Washingtonian and as someone who has done Lyft for almost 9 years, I have driven past that area numerous times. They can do so. I mean, even like years ago, they used to do the little Grand Prix over there. And it
Hmm.
was such a sizable area to do a Grand Prix over there and not interfere with the regular traffic off of Benning Road and over in that area.
Yeah.
So it's enough of an area there that they can really make a beautiful state-of-the-art stadium and put other amenities over there with that stadium to keep, as Dujanay said, keep the revenue flowing for that stadium even during the off season, and then bring it, like we mentioned, bring in such great events like Wrestle. I'm telling you right now, and I'm just gonna put this on wax. The moment they announced WrestleMania at that new stadium in
I gotta go.
2032, I'm in there.
I gotta go.
I will get a loan. I will sell body parts. I don't give a damn. I'm there. I am in the building.
I believe you. And it's great. And I heard Dujanay talk about this, and there was a talk on Candy Waller's show about still renovating what was known as FedEx Field, which is now Northwest Field, right? And so because if we want the Olympics, which is something at a completely different level, right? You need multiple stadiums. So
Right.
continue to put money and energy into that and try to maybe even upgrade how people get to and from there somehow, work on those exits because there's still work that I honestly think if they put enough money into it, you could have a better entrance way into what they do. Like it all bottlenecks there. If they could expand that a little bit, get to 2, 3 lanes right into there, all the way from the highway, right? It wouldn't bottleneck as much as it does. Like they screwed that up, in my opinion. But like, keep on building that too. Keep
They
on
should
putting
have invested in Metro, is what they should have done.
right.
Because I'm telling you, with this stadium being back at RFK, I understand all the parking, all the up, the new age of people commuting to games or where have you. That Metro stop is going to be a big deal, and it always had been, even in the old days.
There's a stop at FedEx Field. It's only a mile away, which if they just built some sort of system to get people that mile, right?
Yeah,
like
that would make a difference.
Like a tram or something. Like a local, you pay $2, get on a little light rail tram that just gets you from there to the front of the stadium would be a huge difference, right? And so that's what I'm saying is they could have built more into that. They didn't. They cheaped out, and it obviously shows, right? And so I'm still holding on to hope that could happen because you could still, it's a bigger stadium than what this is going to be. You could still have outdoor huge festivals if you figure that out. So, it'll be interesting to see because he owns that as an asset, right? So I think that he could still funnel money into that because he partially owns that as well. So
yeah, they claim that they're going to still invest in it. They're still going to make the stadium upgrades, and they plan on, flourishing and making that area, something similar to what they're going to have downtown. So interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna show a screenshot that from earlier that I was looking at. So this is like the timeline that was being posted. So we're trying to get a council approval. Then the summer and the fall, as the planning commences for the parks, housing, and recreation. And then fall, winter 2026, it would then break ground. It would take them about 3 years to then break the district area around it, and in the summer of 2030, they could open up the sportsplex, and then the stadium opening officially would be fall of 2030. So it's a 5-year plan, and so they need to get council approval first. There's some council members that are still against it. I don't remember if it needs to be unanimous or not. I know that there's a certain threshold they have to get to, and if they don't, then it actually gets put up, I believe, for a public vote. So
Yeah.
if the threshold is high enough, I think in the council they don't have to go to a public vote. And
Yeah.
honestly, Dugenais, they want to avoid a public vote at all counts.
Yeah, because I see a whole bunch of negative Nancy's that don't have no foresight at all. Like, you can't, you're not going to keep it, it's bad enough as it is. It's like, I just don't understand the negativity on your property value going up. Don't tell me about traffic, because traffic is absolutely atrocious everywhere. I only have to be there a week to know that. So, miss me with all that nonsense. I just don't understand the lack of foresight. And, some of the complaints that I hear is just like, look, it just sounds like old Grandma Moses, like, get off my lawn stuff. Like, be quiet. Just, go somewhere and find some time to do something else.
To speak on the traffic situation that Dugenais just said, I was at my mother's house in Southeast DC, right off the line of Oxon Hill and PG County. And it normally takes me 15 minutes across the Wilson Bridge to get to my mother's house. I left from there doing yard work at around 4 something in the afternoon. It took me 30 minutes to get back to my apartment.
Yeah.
So
Traffic's
I don't
bad.
want to hear this whole traffic bullshit, because it's traffic all over and it's been a problem for decades.
Yep.
So them building a stadium in that part of of town is not going to change a thing.
No,
it's not.
It's still going to back up there. I remember I lived there in 2000, late 2000, early 2001, and I worked in Hyattsville. I knew that I had to haul ass at 4:00 to beat the backup at the wastewater plant, to at least be there, that the traffic is moving. If I left any later than that, I was backed up out there by RFK. So I don't want to hear about the traffic. It can't be any better than it was then. So
I'll be honest.
I know about that trip from Hyattsville back to Southeast. That was a murder, especially on 295. That was
crap. Right. Bad.
Traffic's so bad in this area. People don't realize that I'm pretty sure that my next job is going to do remotely, because there's very few places I'm willing to travel to in this area unless it's all back roads. Like, exactly. And so like, it's basically find a job in Montgomery County or it's virtual. Like I refuse to come to Virginia to work, to even DC, like even up to Baltimore is a murder in the morning. Like, it's just,
you spend most of your time on the road.
Yeah, every which way I went to, it was an hour drive for 90% of the private schools in this area. So, and it doesn't matter where they are. Like, so it's pretty brutal. I do want to get back to the draft talk just a little bit, because I know that my time with Dugenais is limited. So I'm going to put the draft board here. I think that's an easy way for us to talk about it. I really loved our first pick, getting someone to protect our quarterback. Dugenais, speak on this one. Pick.
Great pick. This guy's gone against some of the best. Abdul Carter is one of those guys he went against, but he's gone against some of the best pass rushers that are in this draft. He's going to be a solid guy. I mean, I love everything about what he does. He's a great pass blocker as well. This was solid. This was so solid. I know a lot of people probably were kind of scratching their heads on this, but you got to protect your investment. I mean, in 2023, this kid only allowed 1 sack on 540 pass blocking attempts. This is a great pick. It's going to be a guy who can really fill in instantly, and I'm really intrigued on how they move this line around, because a lot of the guys, really can excel at guard as well. It's going to be fun, but this is huge. To protect your quarterback, protect that investment. And man, this gives him and the running backs more lanes to escape from.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Champ, what are some of your thoughts?
I love the pick, honestly, because as it's been mentioned, it's basically saying we're trying to protect our franchise quarterback. And you also went out and got Laramie Tunsil in a trade. So if you look at the depth chart at the end of last season, your offensive line was Brandon Coleman on the left, along with Nick Allegretti. Coleman was the tackle, Gray was the guard. On the right side was Sam Cosme and Andrew Wiley. So you have to think that Tunzel will most likely step in on the left tackle side, and then this kid can, battle with Coleman and Wiley for that right tackle spot, or move into the guard spot over, fight with Allegretti or Cosme on the guard spot, or Chris Paul. But I would think if you have Tunsil on the left and this young man on the right side with Cosme and Allegretti and Biotish in the center, I think that you have a very, very solid, young, very strong offensive line that can not only protect the quarterback, but also create run lanes for Brian Robinson Jr., who can finally start getting back to being that bruising downhill runner and not this try to be finesse, dance around like he's doing the bachata or something like that in the backfield, and be able to really get this offense going and really make these DBs work when they have to deal with Scary Terry and deal with Deebo Samuel out there as well. So I love this pick. This is great. It was weird watching the draft and having to wait this long for a pick. I'm so used to them picking in the first 15 picks.
Yeah.
And then once they make a pick, I go watch something else. I literally had to watch the entire first round just to wait for this pick.
Yeah, it was late. I agree. I mean, I guess it's a good thing. That means we're improving. But for sure, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's move on to the defensive side. With this pick, but I'm surprised that he fell this far, Dugenet. I think that's why we picked him there.
Me too. A lot of other teams needed the trenches, and there were a lot of good guys in that zone there, whether it's offense, especially defense. So this guy's the full package, man. Like in college, quarterbacks ratings were like 57.7 thrown in his direction. He's a guy that can lock it down. Going to be huge with having Mikey and Marshawn Lattimore. I'm interested to see how they throw this combination out here, but he was definitely much needed. And what you need in corners these days is anything above 6 feet. And him being 6'1" like that, the man runs a 4.4. You're this is the type of stuff you need. This is the moves you make when you understand that your contender, your person that you're trying to make sure you can dethrone is the Eagles. They've got A.J. Brown. This is a guy that can battle with him. He's definitely a guy that is physical, going to play physical. I really, really like this pick. It was very shocking that he was still on the board when they were able to pick there.
Some had him as a first-round pick. So I want to put that out there just because, Ole Miss, he played very well at times this year, and he was a big reason why. And so, SEC guy, it's a good developmental league for the NFL, as we always like to say. So, they come in more ready, I find, than some of the other leagues. Champ, what are some of your thoughts on getting a cornerback?
I like this one as well. You have Marshawn Lattimore on one side of the field, and then you have him on the other side with Mikey Sanders still as well in there. 3 very competent DBs. I mean, it's going to put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks and on offensive coordinators to be able to scheme against this sort of setup here. And I find this to be very, very positive, especially if you have a front 7 that's going to be able to really create havoc on the offense. You put these competent DBs back there, and it's going to really make your defense very, 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 very sound and whatnot. Because that's been the one criticism of the Commanders over the last several years, is that the front 7 is usually their strong suit, but then their weak point is their secondary. And so to go and shore up their secondary by getting an SEC guy who's a ball hawk, I think is a great move here and can really make this secondary just as strong as the front 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, he. I wish I could. Hold on. Can I pull up his season stats here? I think I can right there. They don't have it there. That sucks. I thought that ESPN had it on their bio page, but he was awesome. Here, I just want to. Does this? Here we go. I found it. Let me switch screens here and do that. And 13 games, 39 solo tackles. You guys can see this, right?
Yeah.
And then 11 assists. So it's 50 combined. He had 3 interceptions. Yeah, I mean, he. I think he's got all the intangibles that you want. You know, it's a solid because it's not just about interceptions.
No.
You know, for quarterbacks, it's all about being able to be a short tackler in my mind, right? And it's bend don't break systems, and like, can they get 3 yards and get them down in the open field versus letting them get 7, right? And this is the guy that you want for that. And you know, he played for Alabama too the previous year, so I want to just put that out there that usually you couldn't go between 2 SEC teams, but because of this new transfer portal, right? It's important to state that he went through Alabama system too. So I just want to make sure that people, that's because of this new system out there, and it's something that we haven't really seen players play for 2 SEC teams like that and come out. Anyway, I'm gonna get back into this. Next one was a wide receiver from Virginia Tech. I didn't really follow him that much this season. Dujanet, can you speak to him a little bit more?
Lane is really big time sleeper. The big thing is he's fast. He runs a 4.3. But what really showed up, and I'm telling you, Senior Bowl, it's where I saw Terry McLaurin at, and I said at that time that he was a pick that Washington needed to make. And this one here is the same thing. What he lacks in size, he makes up for in his route running, and that's something that showed up in the Senior Bowl practices. He was getting separation every time in every drill with some of the top corners, in college that were asked to come to the Senior Bowl. And that type of stuff is huge when you're talking about a guy who has the possibility to probably play in the slot. That separation is key. And when you have a quarterback that can put it on the dot like that, it's pretty much a catch and run for him with that 4.3 speed. And I also look at the fact that there's potential for him to also be a part of the return game. And with this kind of new style of kicking and return, it leaves some room for some gaps to be blown through, and we saw that a few times this year. But a really underrated pick here for Washington, and it would be who's this guy if you really weren't watching college football or weren't. I love the Senior Bowl and weren't paying attention to that, but this guy really showed up in the Senior Bowl, and his route running is what got route running plus speed equals I'm open all the time.
Yeah. So here's some interesting stuff. I love, forgot that the NFL does this where they have like breakdowns of their different stats from the combine, and it's actually documented right here, which is kind of cool. So if anyone is interested about any players, they can go back and do this as well. The athleticism score is what stands out to me, being at 90 and ranked 5th among wide receivers. So even if he's not producing a lot at this specific thing, he's athletic, and if he's coachable, then the production numbers can come up, right? You can't teach athleticism, right? You either got it or you don't. And so to be the 5th best at that, I think is an important statistic that might be not talked about enough. Champ, what are some of your thoughts?
One of the things I read about when I was looking this up, prepping for this podcast, is someone said that there's a possibility that this young man could potentially be the deep threat that De'Ami Brown was before his departure, with that speed and that athleticism and the ability to be a good route runner. I think that when you are a defensive coordinator that has to deal with both Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, and then you think about the wild card and Luke McCaffrey, who's going into his 2nd year, or a Zach Ertz, you put this kid out there And with that speed and that athleticism, boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, it's going to be a defensive nightmare for anybody that plays this team, especially the NFC East has to play this team twice a year for the next 4 or 5 years with this kid on this roster. I honestly feel like this is another solid pick. It seems like our GM Adam Peters is on the freaking ball with this draft. And the crazy part is they gave up 3rd-round picks to get Marshawn Latimer, but they
Right.
still made good picks in this draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is interesting here. In 2024, he's third team All ACC, played in 12 games and 11 starts. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and led the team with 38 receptions, and an average of 12.3 per with 2 touchdowns. And did not play in the loss in the bowl game, which I'm conflicted by all of that. I understand I don't want them to get hurt,
Yeah.
but it's tough when I don't know, you play the whole season. I kind of want you to be there at the end for your team. But anyway, that's an argument for a different day. But let's get into it. Got a linebacker from UCLA. What are some of your thoughts on him, Duchesne?
This is another sleeper pick. The guy is fast, really covers the flats very well. He's very rangy. Some would say, he's kind of, because of his frame, not a good idea for him to get locked up on bigger offensive linemen. But this cat has everything that you're looking for. And the good thing about it is he also does a great job of tracking the football. Can really do well tracking that football. And his speed is really going to be helpful when you're talking about trying to get out there and make sure you can get out there and tackle a guy like Saquon before he blows by everyone. I really like this pick. I think it's a real good addition to the linebacking room. And he also can be used because of his speed, can be used in a lot of different spots as far as using him to blitz at times too, because of his speed. So yeah, really good pick for them, especially in that round. This defensive draft was really deep, but you can tell Adam Peters and company did their homework here.
For sure. Chip, what are your thoughts?
I like it as well because, again, I just said it not too long ago that the front 7 has been the strong suit of this Commanders defense for a number of years. And when you add younger pieces to it, especially someone with this kind of speed for his size, is a really viable option to have in the defensive game, because he can go out and cover, and as Duchesne said, he can stop someone like a Saquon from breaking out a big run. I mean, you don't have a lot of premier running backs in the NFC East besides Saquon, but it's good to have in the run game, be able to stop the run and be able to be out there and take on a tight end or a running back in pass coverage and be productive in that area as well. So another really solid pick here and another great addition to the linebacking core, and someone that could be a good rotational run linebacker in there to keep the others fresh and to be able to still go out there and produce.
For sure. I also like he has a high athleticism score in top 6 in linebacker for that too. So once again, we were talking about that, we can coach him up and fix some of the other stuff. And if he's got that athleticism, he's a big guy too. He's 6'3", right? Linebacker, so that extra reach, still 222 pounds. So solid guy. Maybe even could beef up more with muscle and as he gets bigger, as he gets into the NFL. So he could be a playmaker for sure for us. So that's an exciting pick for us. All right, Duchesne, the last major pick, and there were some other ones that you pick in free agency and other ones there. We're just talking about the core 5 tonight, but we got a running back from Arizona.
Yeah, another one that's kind of a sleeper pick. He did very well in the East-West Shrine Bowl. Actually broke a record there. This guy has, he's very quick. He's got good footwork. He had an eligibility issue in 2024, but he was second team All Mountain West in 2023, 1,190 yards and 17 touchdowns at New Mexico. So this is a guy that can really add to this running back room. I think he has a little bit of ability to be able to get home runs when necessary. And I mean, man, you can't have too many backs there. If he can do what he did, he showed at the Shrine Bowl, in the league. I think they got something here to have in rotation with B-Rob and Austin Eckler. So it'll be cool to see how this all works out. I do think he's a really, really another underrated pick for Washington.
Yeah, interesting. Finds heavy collisions more frequently than teams might desire. That's an interesting line. But in a non-factor in the passing game, I'm just reading some stats about him because I know he didn't play last season. But that does mean even though he's a 24-year-old rookie, he's a little bit fresher than some guys that would obviously have taken lots of hits through
Right.
the course of the last year. So maybe this could have helped his body heal, especially if it's a guy that took a lot of punishment earlier on. Something to think about there. Champ, what are your thoughts on getting another running back?
I think it's a good pick here, especially because of the fact that, again, he, as you mentioned, he's a little bit more fresher, even though he is 24 years of age and coming in as a rookie. I think that he can bring a bit change to what we have in terms of our running back room with B-Rob, with Eckler, even with Chris Robinson Jr. I think that he's going to really work his way into a spot onto the team and bring something different to the table. And I think that when you add in the revamp offensive line and the ability of Jaden to be a dual threat quarterback, I think that having that dynamic change of pace back would be of benefit to make this offense a lot more dynamic. And I think that he adds that kind of that to this team. So again, really rounding out with such a solid pick and really just showing that this draft was about not just filling in needs, but also to bring in additional pieces that could bring some levity and something different to the offense.
Yeah, these are impact picks for sure. These are not stash away. We'll bring it out on a rainy day. These picks are expected to come in and have some effect with this team.
Yeah, I'm excited because we were already doing pretty well. I'm gonna stop this screen share here, but just these are a couple of little tweaks that we needed. I didn't think we needed to do like a complete overhaul or anything. You don't get
Right.
to. I'm wearing the gear, right? Because why not us? I know that this 12-5. It's pretty crazy to think about that we were able to get that done, and
It is.
and with some of these players, maybe we could get to 13. Who knows? It's definitely possible. We're not going to be a sleeper team anymore. People are going to be gunning for us, right? So it's going to be a struggle to try to get back to that. When you're flying a little higher than people expected. But we could. I think that we retooled well. I think that we kept a lot of the players from last year that were important. We didn't keep everybody, obviously, but as no team does. And I think that it's looking pretty good. Duchesne, just in general with free agency and draft and where we're at as a team, what are your thoughts on how things are going so far for the team?
I think it's going very well. You kind of have a group that understands that at some point, you have to know when to say when. You're not going to keep people too long or whatever. I think this is a good group of coaches and talent evaluating staff that understand, the right time to move on. And I think they've done an excellent job of between the draft and free agency of putting together a team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that can have a little bit more, a little bit more ass to it, I should say. The defensive line should be excellent. You should have better depth there. Should have better depth at the linebacking core, and of course, adding at corner is huge. That was also another area that was a struggle for the team. And of course, anytime you can shore up the offensive line, create probably a combination that benefits some of the guys along that line that you decided to keep, that maybe you can put them in different positions that will help them excel better. Only makes things better for this team, that this quarterback can have a lot more time to slaughter opposing teams' defenses. So I think they've done an excellent job. I'm really looking forward to see some of the undrafted free agents and who they can pick up and decide to keep there. I do think Sean Taylor's brother is going to be a sleeper.
I was just about to mention about Sean Taylor's brother coming in for a tryout.
Yeah, he had multiple offers. I was able to talk with Lake and Lake Lewis. He was able to kind of talk with him a little bit. His agent reached out to him and kind of gave him the pros and cons. He had an offer from Miami as well, and you guys know the family is there, at Miami. But ultimately, after listening to Lake and whatnot, and what he thought about both pros and cons of each, he decided to make the decision to come here. So he's going to get an opportunity to get a tryout, and I think it's a great spot for him for the simple fact that a lot of guys, especially in the cornerback room, wasn't able to stay around because they didn't play special teams. And this group and this coaching staff is like that special teams is important. And if he can come in and show that he can be effective in special teams, he's going to get his opportunity to be able to have a part and play a part in this defense. So really excited for his opportunity. But yeah, excellent job by all parties when it comes to this draft and free agency. I think the fans should be excited for what this team could possibly be. Went 12-5 and had a lot of missing pieces. The sky's the limit right now with all the pieces that they were able to add to this team. It's going to be fun to watch.
I have two more quick things I want to talk to you about, and I know that we got to get you out of here. So the first one is the draft overall. There was a story that I feel like we at some point have to talk about because it just kind of overshadowed a lot of this year's draft. It's tough. I don't know how much airway I want to give to it, but I do think there's a question on whether or not there's collusion within the NFL to make somebody's draft stock plummet, right? And I think there's a fair amount of evidence that could have been true. Also, he had some pretty terrible interviews and did not do himself many favors. So that both can also be true. Dujane, I want to get your thoughts on this, just in general. Yeah.
So the collusion thing, I don't think you can get 32 teams to say that they're gonna not draft a kid because of his dad or whatever. If you think a Sanders is going to tank an interview, that narrative is absolutely and utterly a joke. And it's some of the stuff that we've seen with some players where they've thrown out this narrative, or they've thrown out that sources said or some person said, look, man, there's no way in hell this kid is going to sabotage his own career by taking interviews. It's crap.
Not that he tanked it on purpose, but that he wasn't taking it seriously.
A Sanders not taking it seriously, his dad would be eating his ass. I'm not buying that at all. I think it's lazy, very lazy for people to do the things that they do to talk about an individual, because at first, when people started talking up his draft stock, that's when all the negative stuff started coming out. And I don't need to look at anything other further than his tape. And the bottom line is his play with no offensive line still holds water to Jackson Dart and that Tyler kid that the Saints drafted, that he is not better than Shedeur Sanders. The bottom line is that, unfortunately, this was a defensive draft. And I think the people who needed quarterbacks, look at their front offices. Look at the position that they're in money-wise. Big dummies. They make piss-poor decisions. So, of course, they didn't pull the trigger. And no one else needed a quarterback. The Giants, ridiculous. Who gives up that many picks to get back in the first round for Jackson Dart? Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I don't.
For Christ's sake. Come on, man.
But I mean, the Giants are claiming that they asked him to do homework and he didn't do it. So
I don't want to hear nothing from Dayball and that crew who pissed down their leg and let a prize running back get out of the room. And the way they handled Jayden Daniels, it was piss poor too. I don't want to hear nothing from that raggedy ass club.
Right.
They don't do anything well either.
Right. It's just so interesting that a year removed from us picking up Jayden Daniels that they can make this mistake, because clearly something is different, right? There was not. I mean, because they needed a franchise quarterback, and it's so crazy to me. And I don't know if any of this is true, that when he got picked up by the Browns, that Dion was like, he's not going to be fifth in line. Yeah, and I don't know.
I hadn't heard nothing about that, to be honest. I haven't heard any. A lot of the stuff that I hear people talking about, I have heard nothing about that at all. Yeah. I don't know where a lot of this stuff comes from. I just think the fact of the matter is, it's a Sanders. I think at times, like with Cam Newton, people don't want to deal with the extra media attention that it garners. And some teams just can't handle it. I mean, I don't want to hear nothing from a Browns organization that continues to piss down their leg every year. I mean, what have you won to actually talk about a young man in the way that you're talking about him, that he's got to come in? Everybody's got to come in and earn a spot. But you know what? He's better than all four quarterbacks that you got on that goddamn roster right now, including the first one you drafted. That shows you right there you're a moron for drafting two quarterbacks. What are we doing here?
They traded for one. They got Flacco. Yeah. They got an early draft. I mean, it's the craziest thing. I'm like, honestly, going undrafted may have been a better scenario for him than being picked up by that sorry-ass franchise. But anyway, I could talk about this for a while. But the last question I have is actually not NFL related. I know that you're a Lakers fan. Crazy not to sub out any players in the second half of a game. They kind of let it get away from them here. The Wolves look good. Like, not to take anything away from how they're playing, but the Lakers find themselves in a hole here that surprises a lot of people. What is your takeaway on this series so far?
It doesn't surprise me, and here's why. This is something I've always had an issue with, and it's crept up again now that you have Luka. LeBron goes missing at the most important times. He's either a liability in defense or he's a liability in scoring. The guy scored 27 points in that game, scored 0 in the fourth quarter. That can't happen for a so-called king. The man wasn't even a prince in that game in the fourth quarter. Okay, so it's like, when it matters, you're not there. And JJ got outcoached. Bottom line, he got outcoached, especially towards the end of that game. And that's taking nothing away from what JJ's done all year. I think he's done a fantastic job with this basketball team, especially when now you've got two budding stars on that team now. But yeah, he got outcoached, and you can't not sub when your team, especially the bulk of your star, especially with your star LeBron being older, you needed to give those guys some type of rest somewhere in there. They got a young team over there, Minnesota does, and I'm not surprised that they're playing well. I knew this would be a tough out for them, for the Lakers, but Yeah, it just
In the
comes down to the
previous game,
fact.
LeBron had 3 threes in a row, and they could not play defense, and they went on a 10-0 run at the end of the game. They killed them. That I think took a lot of momentum from
Yep.
that into the next game. And so, even if he is scoring in the fourth, they can't play defense, so it doesn't matter.
And he's a part of that. He
Right.
is a part of that. That was the same reason two
That's why
years
I
ago.
could never believe that he's better than Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan would never, right?
Exactly. He's not a guy who plays defense. Teams that play pick and roll, exactly. Teams that play pick and roll have LeBron's number because he can't get out there fast enough. So a guy is always shooting a wide open shot because he's late. He's just not quick enough to get out there. So, that's what teams have been able to take advantage of when he's on the floor. Sure, he's a scorer, but he allows people to score a lot too. And when you're playing 4-on-5, that just ain't gonna cut it. Not in the NBA. You know what I mean? That's not gonna cut it. So, I don't see them winning this. I think they're going out early. It's unfortunate, but I'm not surprised at what I'm seeing at all.
Yeah, I kind of always thought that there were problems that were simmering under the surface, even in the regular season when they were beating expectations, right? And I just, a lot of those things have now come to the surface, and the Wolves game planned them very well, and I think got them out of their game a little bit with some of their trash talk and some of the conversations that they're having. And it's just enough. It doesn't take a lot, in basketball. It's a very mental sport, and shooting just a little bit off, and next thing you know, you're, especially on defense, if you're just not going to be committed to defense, and that's always been the knock on Luka, right?
Yeah.
Luka is a phenomenal offensive player, but you've got two phenomenal offensive players that are liabilities on defense, and that's basically 2/5 of your entire second half lineup where you don't change players.
And Luka's played way better defense than LeBron has.
Right.
He's actually stepped it up compared to what he was doing with Dallas. But yeah, you can't have that, man.
That's where Father Time picked up.
Yep.
LeBron's too old to play defense at this point. I'm sorry, it's just what
he didn't play it well when he was young.
Right, he didn't. Right? And now he's a step slower. And so, yes, he still has the power, and he still can body in for a 2, and still has that shot. But when it comes to the speed on defense, it's not going the right direction for him. So, yeah, for sure. Well, Dujanay, I could talk hours, obviously, about multiple sports with you, but I really appreciate it. Let people know where they can catch your latest show and what you're up to on that, and then we'll let you out of here.
Well, we're coming up on the 73rd episode of the Not Bland Show, and we will be having on the individual who won the 1,000th Top Fuel race in Charlotte this past weekend, Sean Langdon, and we'll also have on a Pro Stock driver, Dallas Glenn, who not only won his 16th event, he also won the 200th race for his race team, KB Titan. So it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be packed, but we're going to have a good time. You can follow the show, subscribe to the show at The Not Bland Show on YouTube. And man, appreciate y'all for real. It's been real fun being on here tonight with you guys.
Yeah, I had a really great time too, and we miss you when it's not NFL season, right? So it's good to see your face again, and definitely go check out the Not Bland show on twitch.tv/NotBland21. Also, the Not Bland show on YouTube. The information is in chat. It's also in our show notes when we repost this on our YouTube later and on our website. And I appreciate you, Dujanay, as always, and I look forward to talking more NFL when we get closer to the season.
For sure, man. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good rest of the show.
Thank you,
DJ.
All right. With that, I know that it ran a little bit long, Tim. I appreciate the time, and it was a good segment, and there's always a lot to chat about. And I'm happy that we got that Lakers conversation in there as well. I do want to get both of your guys' take on the falling Sanders. I'll call it that way, and the draft thing there. I'll start off with you, Champ. What is your takeaway from all that happened there?
I mean, Shedeur took some accountability. He said he should have handled the process a little bit better. Whatever that means, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, he is an NFL player at now, and he's got to just come in and do the work. I mean, a lot of people brought it up that Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick out of Michigan to the Patriots, and now he's gone down as the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. That man has almost as many rings as he has fingers. Okay, he's a certified first ballot Hall of Famer in 2028 when he hits his 5 years of retirement. And so being drafted that late doesn't mean anything, because he can still go out there and ball out and end up with multiple Super Bowl rings and end up being a Hall of Famer when his time is up. So it was just strange just watching this unfold, and Mel Kiper like crashing out because he swore up and down that Shedeur Sanders was a first round quarterback, and he didn't even get drafted until day 3. And it was just crazy to just see all the conspiracy theories pop up online, and everybody, having their own theories about why this kid did not get drafted until round 5. It was only the 2nd quarterback drafted by the Browns. I have friends who are Browns fans who were crashing out when they traded back to the 5th pick from number 2 and then drafted a D lineman instead of a quarterback. They waited until the 2nd round to get a quarterback, and then they went and got the quarterback from Oregon. But either way, again, we could sit here and talk for the longest time about this whole thing, but at the end of the day, he got drafted. He has a team. Now he needs to go and prove to the other 31 teams who passed on him why they made the mistake of passing on him and going out there and playing ball. Same thing Tom Brady did when he was the 6th-round pick. He went out there and won 8 Super Bowls and basically submitted a Hall of Fame career. Shedeur's just got to do the same thing. That's all he's got to do.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's 7 Super Bowls, but yes.
Yeah, 7 wins.
Yeah,
a lot more appearances.
Yeah, for sure.
Either way, he won a lot of Super Bowls.
Yeah, no. Point taken.
He won more Super Bowls than some franchises have.
Right.
Yeah, I will say though, he may be very successful, but it's not going to be in Cleveland. I guarantee you that. I think Cleveland is a chance for him to learn. I think it's an audition. And I think at some point he may get traded for a much higher pick than when he was drafted. But I think he's going to be like Baker Mayfield and probably struggle in Cleveland, be able to play a little bit because most likely they'll be in a losing situation and give him a shot. But I think realistically it's doing well in the preseason, doing well in mop-up duty, probably end of the season when the Browns are out of it, and then hopefully getting traded to a better situation. Because, I mean, it's hard to win a job with 5 guys on that depth chart. I mean, do we know for sure he's going to make the team? It's not, I wouldn't say it's 100%. It's probably, he will probably. But with 5 guys and, 5th rounders are not guaranteed a spot. But I just think, it like you said, it's not an ideal situation, but this could be step 1, where maybe he'll go to a better situation and he'll get a shot. And there's plenty of guys that are late picks that become really successful starters. So I think he has a chance. And I think his dad really hurt him in the situation. I mean, I think people forget because Dion was so good, but he really was the guy that if they lost the game, it was always someone else's fault. It was always, my teammate didn't block. My teammate dropped a pass. But he got away with it because Dion was an amazing player. And I don't know, his son is probably a lot different, I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know. But I just think that reputation hurt his son, whether or not it's fair. Plus, I feel like a lot of coaches are like, I don't want to get those text messages from Dion saying, start my son. Flacco's a bum or whatever. So
I I think he's got to mentor this guy, and then he's got to be cut. I think that's the only situation here that would even make remote sense to me. Like, how are you going to keep? Like, you have.
Yeah, they, yeah. I mean, unless you cut Pickett and cut that second or third round pick, which makes no sense. So, yeah, I mean, I think Pickett's
Honestly, that
definitely gone.
that Oregon quarterback was pretty good. Like, I watched a couple of his games. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
100% convinced that he's worse than Sanders. Like,
No, I'm not. He's smaller though. I guess Sanders isn't big himself,
yeah,
but
Sanders had better numbers, but I also felt like he was in an easier conference, right? So, like,
yeah, I mean, Oregon was going against Ohio State and teams like that, but
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, who knows what will happen? But it's just a very interesting
the
situation, and it's something we'll definitely
the
have to
the
monitor.
funniest quarterback room in NFL history, probably
Right.
football history. Like
Yeah.
those five guys have nothing in common. It's just
Meanwhile,
funny.
our three quarterbacks in our quarterback room are all hanging out at the Caps games, soaking in Game 2 wins. So,
Well,
so
that's how it should be when they're normal ages and normal amounts of quarterbacks that should
right.
actually make the team. Like either way, Cleveland's either wasting millions of dollars or a high pick before the season starts
Yeah.
because it's
Sounds,
either
sounds
black.
pretty much like the Browns. So,
Yeah,
like, it's not
yeah,
surprising.
and
Well, let's
Watson's still there, so
Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit to the Ravens. And I did want to get your thoughts. I didn't monitor your guys' draft quite as much as the Commanders, but was there any standout draft picks that you guys got that you thought were going to help your team?
yeah. I'll talk about I guess just the first three picks because those
Yeah.
are the most important, obviously. I think they definitely got a steal in the first and second round. The Lockheed Starks, great safety from Georgia, great career in the SEC, and I think really high character guy. He was actually homeless growing up two different times, but was able to kind of turn his life around and really humble guy. So I'm glad that he was there. I think what Baltimore picked right before Washington, actually, one pick before. So late 20s, that was a steal. Second round pick is mixed because it's a guy that led college football in sacks. Definitely a top 15 talent, but he had two sexual assault allegations, not proven or whatever, but
Man, the Ravens are struggling in
yeah,
that department.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So, on that note, though, they did draft a kicker in the sixth round, so I think Tucker's going. So they're down to one criminal, in the near future. But honestly, you know how football and sports are. The guy is talented. I mean, I think it will have a great career. I hope he just stays out of trouble. But the league is full of guys like that. If you can play, you can play. I just hope, he grows up. And then the third round pick was the starting left tackle from LSU. I think they'll kick him inside to play guard, just because in the NFL it's hard to play blindside as a rookie. But he might compete to start next year. So that was a nice pick. Most of the grades I saw were pretty positive. Obviously, a lot of insults about bringing another weird sexual assault guy, but I also saw a lot of people that thought it was a great pick. Obviously, it's a gamble though, but they
for
did
sure.
get two guys they wanted.
And you guys had a lot of later round picks. I know we're not going to get into it, but I know that I
Yeah,
read that somewhere is that you guys had stocked up a lot of picks. So that's always good to try to create competition within the team and try to
yeah,
fight for some spots. And because you guys were another one of those teams that you don't need to do a lot. You're just retooling a little bit. You guys were right there and had a good season last year, just like the Commanders did. And it's probably the best year in the Washington D.C. Baltimore area sports history, and according because they just never both had good
yeah.
years in the
It's
same season. So um,
Yeah, and they played a really interesting game. It was a good year, and I think, like you said, next year both teams will be good playoff teams again. Knock on wood, but
for sure. I want to do a little scoring update. Houston is up over Golden State Warriors 47-46 with 2:44 left in this first half. And then the Colorado Avalanche just scored their first goal of the game. They still trail 3-1 in this game 5, where it's tied 2-2 in the Western side. I am going to switch to our NBA topic real quickly. And let me just change the graphic. I will throw up the Wizards graphic, even though we're not talking about the Wizards. I do have an NBA playoff graphic, but I'd have to look for that. Let's just go through where the standings are in the current bracket. So Cleveland did sweep Miami. It was a brutal game in Miami tonight.
Yeah, 55 points.
Yeah, it's rough. I feel like they didn't need to do that, but anyway. Indiana is up 3-1 over Milwaukee, and Milwaukee had some pretty terrible injury news today, so that series might be over. That next game there is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Tomorrow at 7:30, the Knicks play in Detroit. They're up 3-1 in that series. And then tomorrow at 8:30, Boston is playing Orlando. They're up 3-1. So the team, I would say they're going into game 5. Oh wait, is that right? Is it all of them? Yeah, they're all game 5s, and there's an opportunity here for the lead team.
It's all home teams are up 3-1.
Yeah,
for sure. Tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So they all can win it at home. Then on the Western side, Denver versus the Clippers. That series is tied 2-2. The next game is at 10 tomorrow, and then on Wednesday at 10 p.m. The Wolves versus the Lakers series continue. So the Lakers in that situation are actually trying to hold on at home in a game 5 to force a game 6 in Minnesota. And then we just talked about this game 4 that's happening with Golden State up 2-1 over Houston. Even though Golden State is the lower seeded team, they're favored right now in this series because they've just played much better down the stretch. And the Western Conference was also close going into the playoffs. That the difference between the 2nd and the 7th seed was 2 games or something. So
what a finish to that Clippers Denver game, though.
Yes,
what a finish on Saturday night! Jesus Christ! Only reason why I saw it because AEW Collision came on after it, and so my recording had the last 5 minutes of that game. But what a finish! Jesus.
Yeah, that whole series has been tight and really good. It's been a pretty crazy series all in all. I mean, and the Lakers, we talked about it before. I mean, those games all came down to the wire in some ways too, and kind of epic collapses by LA in the last 2, which is going to be hard for them to come back from that for sure. And the Knicks have had a little bit of injury troubles, and they haven't looked quite as dominant as they might thought. In Milwaukee had real serious injury problems as well. Tim, what are some of your thoughts? Any games or series stand out to you in the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, I agree with you guys that I think that Denver Clippers series is clearly the best one. One thing that I don't like about the NBA compared to the NHL is the first round has a lot of blowouts. Like that Cleveland win over Miami, that was the most lopsided series in NBA playoff history. And, just 2 terrible games to end the series. But I do really like this New York-Detroit series because although it's 3-1, every game has been extremely close. I haven't watched all of it, but I've seen the end of all 4 games, and you could make a case that either team could have won, any of the 4 games. Detroit, they've lost an insane amount of games. I think they had a 12 or 14 game playoff losing streak. They finally broke that on the road. but now they have a really long home playoff losing streak. And that continues because they lost by only 2 and 1 points. They had, and it's to their crowd's credit, awesome sellout crowds. Just, I feel like the Knicks are a little bit better, and they now have that playoff experience because Detroit just last year was a really bad team, kind of like the Wizards on the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And they had the best improvement in the NBA and record wise. And but that first year you make the playoffs as a young team, it's really hard to advance. I think Houston is the same way to me because, like you said, they're the higher seed against Golden State, but how do you bet against Golden State's experience and coaching and just all those, all the mileage? They're just grizzled vets. So that series has been great, but I think the Knicks are probably gonna win it in 5.
Yeah. So Champ, was that the only game or series that you got to watch, or?
Yeah, that was the only one I got to watch, only because it was like recorded, and it preceded AEW Collision, but that was such a thrilling final 5 minutes of that game, and then that finish with the dunk with literally a 1/10 of a second to get that ball into the hoop and to get the victory when they were tied, and the potential of going into overtime was it was just unbelievable. And that series is one you definitely want to pay attention to, because whoever comes out of that series, man, they're gonna have gone through a fight to go when they go into the next series against whoever. But that was a fantastic finish with those two.
For sure. The Colorado Avalanche just scored a goal in 2 minutes and 27 seconds after their last goal. So they're chipping away at this lead. They're now down 3-2. Again, this game is in Dallas, 4:30 left in the second period. Dallas just had a shot on goal, but it was saved there. So a good game happening in that. And then this Houston Golden State Warriors game is also a close game. Houston is up 49-47. Make that 50-47 with that made free throw. 2:20 left in the first half. So a lot of exciting stuff. Tim, any other thoughts on the NBA before we switch gears to some of the other sports?
No, I just think the next round will be more exciting. Just it's hard in the first round of the NBA. There you don't see many upsets.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk a little bit of baseball? I know that you were able to go to the O's versus the Nats game. Unfortunately, that was the 7-0. Was that? Wait, is that right? Was that the?
Yeah, I went to the 7-0 Nats win. The
Yeah.
Nats won 2 out of 3 of that series.
Yep, and then they won 2 out of 4 against the Mets, including a big comeback yesterday.
I'm glad you brought that up, Robbie.
Yeah,
I prepped for that one. So both of their wins against the Mets, because they split that 4-game series, were walk-offs. So they had the walk-off against them in the first game, and then I think it was game 3. They came back. They were down 6-0 going into the 7th inning, and they outscored them 8-1 in the final 3 innings to get a 8-7 victory in a walk-off fashion. Though they got boat raced in the series finale, 19-5. Brandon Nimmo ended up with a club record 9 RBIs in this game. I mean, unbelievable play there, and and with the win, the Mets became the first team in the major leagues to hit 20 wins in a season already. And they currently lead the NL East right now with those 20 wins. So a huge loss for the Nats. And they go into a very tough series in Philadelphia coming up. They go on the road for their next 2 series in Philly, and then they head to Cincinnati and face the Reds, who are in the hunt in the NL Central.
Yeah, so that'll be a tough one for sure. So yeah, the series is at Philadelphia. The first 2 games are at 6:45 on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then also on Thursday, 6:45 start, and then Friday that whole series starts in Cincinnati. It's a 6:10 start on Friday, 6:40 on Saturday, and a 4:10 matinee game on Sunday. So and then they'll play Cleveland the following week. So we'll be monitoring those. I did want to mention, since we have Tim here, the Orioles. I know that they had a tough go against Washington, lost 2 out of 3, and then they lost all 3 games at Detroit. First game was close, 4-3, lost 6-2, and then 7-0. So it got worse as it went on. But a big victory today, as we talked about a little bit earlier, over the Yankees. They won that 4-3, and they'll continue that series at home tomorrow at 6:35. Wednesday also at 6:35, and then they go to Kansas City for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7:05, 7:15, and then 1:35 for those games. But Tim, it's been a bit of a rough start at 11-17 for the Orioles this year. A little bit surprising. What's your takeaway early in the season?
Yeah, it's definitely been a bad start. I think the main culprit is injuries, especially to pitching. Their top 3 starters are all on the injury list right now. And also, 2 starting outfielders and Westberg, starting infielder, are also hurt. So just kind of worst case scenario with the injury list, and a lot of bad hitting with runners in scoring position. Um, the good news, like you said, though, they did beat the Yankees today. They still have a ton of talent, so I'm still kind of torn. Obviously it's early, and everyone gives the example of the Nats World Series year. What was their record? 13-24 or something like that. So, teams have had even worse starts and made the playoffs or even better. So I'm not giving up hope, but at some point, if you can't get healthy, you're just gonna have a lost season, and it's sad with their young talent, but at the same time, you just kind of need a win streak to get back into it. So we'll see. Hopefully they get healthy and start to hit a little bit more in the clutch, and do better on this homestand, because so far they've been really bad on the road and a little better at home.
Yeah. All right. Did you end up watching the UFL game, Tim, this week, or
No, I just saw crazy win, like close game, right?
Yeah, very close game.
There's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what the hell did I just see?
Exactly. Well, I'll let Tim get out of here. I know that
appreciate that.
Early morning, and then Champ and I will talk a little Defenders after that. But Tim, it's good to see you again, and we'll definitely get your take on more NBA playoffs as it continues.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys. Let's do it again soon. Have a good rest of the show. See
Best
you.
of luck on the
See you,
Orioles.
Champ. Thank you.
For sure. And
go Caps. I'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll see you Wednesday. We're trying to reenact. We saw game 1 together, so we're trying to solidify that luck. So hopefully I'll see you in 2 days. So that'll be great.
Yeah, have a good one. See you guys.
All right, good.
Bye.
All right, Champ. Let's talk about these Defenders. Which wow, what a crazy game. But playing against the Arlington team. For those who don't know, Arlington is like basically the Cowboys of the XFL division, right? Of the UFL, and so they're one of our biggest rivals at this point. And both teams were 3-1. We came off a really bad loss last week. It did not start off very well for the Defenders. They kind of shot themselves in the foot early, but they were able to just kind of keep in it, just keep on plugging away, and didn't really take the lead, I don't think, until like the final play, right? It was one of the last plays of the game, and just kind of a wild game. But Champ, what are some of your thoughts on it?
Why did this game have to be so freaking frustrating? And I know I sound like a typical DC sports fan. I'm moaning and complaining about a win, but god damn, why did this game have to be so frustrating? Jordan Ta'amu is such a good quarterback, but this year he is not showing it. He was 50% on his passes, 23 of 46. Yeah, he had 308 yards. Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns, but he also had he had 2 interceptions. He was only credited for 1 because the other interception happened on the conversion. So they don't count that as an interception in the stat sheet. But still, this was a frustrating game to watch, even though they won the game, not just because the offense was so up and down, inconsistent, but the defense, which is normally this team's strong suit, was getting gashed left, right, and in between. It was really just crazy to watch a defense that's normally so stout over these last 2 games just look like so pedestrian. And then on top of that, there was that one pass that Jordan Teamo threw where it looked like the receiver was going on a post, and he threw it like he was going on a post, but then he decided to change direction at the last minute, and it ended up missing. And it's like, hold on, you've been with these receivers now for 5 games. How do y'all not have that timing down and that cohesiveness and that relationship where you can make that throw? And that would have been either a touchdown or at least a big play for a first down. Instead, it was an incomplete pass. Now, they made some really great he made some really good passes, and he really and his receivers made some really good throws. The problem, though, is that the run game is still not clicking. And that's what needs to click in order for this team to be successful offensively, and also to give that defense more of a breather and to be out there and to be able to do what they normally do. And that's going to continue to be a problem if they can't get Smith and Jackson going in the run game, and they can't have Teamo going on read options and stuff like that. They got to get those 2 running backs going if they're going to be successful. But watching this game on DVR was just so frustrating. Even though we won, I couldn't be happy about it because I was just so frustrated with the play that it took them until the final couple minutes of the game, like under 2 minutes, to finally win this game.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I'm just happy it had a better result than the previous week, which was also frustrating. I'll talk about something that was frustrating if you're a Colorado fan. We were just talking about how well they had been played. They cut it to a 3-2 deficit within a 3-minute period. 16:48, a power play goal made it 4-2, and then just a couple of minutes later, one of those goals in the final 2 minutes of the period, those are always the backbreakers, right? Because it's just like get to the end of the period and try to salvage it, and they did not. And so they find themselves down 5-2 going into the third period. Dallas is trying to take a 3-2 lead in this series. So, some pretty crazy stuff there. But, yeah, it's disappointing that it wasn't a better game, but it was an exciting game, and I'm happy that we came up on the right side of it. It's one of those, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Commanders at the end there, where, they're down, but they're not out, and they marched down the field, and they converted, and when they needed to. And they got there's a big fumble recovery, which I thought was going to be huge, and then they gave it right back to them, and then I was like, oh, it's over. And then luckily they got the ball back. They played good defense, which is, I always appreciate when defenders play good defense. I'm like, oh, good, because that sucks. If you're named the defenders and you play shitty defense, like that's not gonna be good. People are just going to mock the hell out of that, right? So, so I was happy to see at the end, when push came to shove, that their defense did stand tall. I would have liked it earlier in the game, maybe, but later is better than never. So it's a big win, though, to go up 4-1. This is the halfway part. If people don't realize how many games they play, to win, 80% of the games in the first half of the season is really good. And they got to keep it up, obviously, but they're in the inside track. People don't realize the top 2 teams in each division make it to the playoffs, right? And then they play each other, and then the winner of that plays for the championship. And so being 4-1 is huge, and then beating one of the teams that they're going to be competing with potentially would be a tiebreaker for them. In that way, scoring high game is good, but obviously allowing a lot of points, because that's also a tiebreaker, is not so good. So, interesting nonetheless. Anyway, any final thoughts, Champ, before we talk a little soccer?
I really hope they do much better against Michigan at Ford Field, because if they don't, man, it's gonna be really tough for them in the final stretch there. They gotta definitely pick it back up and definitely have a much better showing. And he's gotta make those throws, man. I mean, too many times he's like underthrew, overthrew. One of that interception he underthrew a wide open receiver and almost threw it right to the defender. And it's like, you can't make, as a quarterback, a professional quarterback. Yeah, it's summer ball. It's not the NFL, but still, you're a professional quarterback. There's just no way that you underthrow that. You just can't do that. And throwing 50%, only completing 50% of your passes, you're not going to be successful as a quarterback at any level when you're going at that clip. You're just not. This is not going to happen.
So here's just a weird thought that I have. When we talk about marketing and branding, we were talking about this a little bit last week, and how all 4 games were really exciting this week, and still no one's talking about it, right? And so, why is it called the Michigan Panthers? Why aren't they the Detroit Panthers? I didn't even realize that they play in the same stadium, right? Because I just assumed it was Michigan. They must play in a different stadium until you just said that. I was like, oh shit, they play there? I don't. I feel like that branding purposes. Like if there was Detroit and the whole city could get behind another team, in the same way, like Birmingham is a name. Like I don't understand. Like why is some of it state and some of it city? Like it makes no sense to me. And the same thing. Why isn't it called the Dallas instead of Arlington? I know that they play in Arlington, but like it would become. And I guess that maybe they're trying to say that they're not the minor league team. They're not like there's no affiliation with the NFL team, and so they're naming it like a different thing. I don't know. It seems strange to me where like you could create a situation where the fans of the Lions could also like the Panthers, Lions, Panthers. I just like the whole thing. Just doesn't make sense to me.
I stopped trying to make sense of things in my life, so it is what it is.
Right.
It is.
You see what I'm saying, though, right? I don't think. I don't know. It couldn't hurt. It's like it's not working. I don't know. And like, there has been situations where teams have changed where they say that they're from. Like, think about, Miami. Versus Florida with the Miami Marlins, right? It used to be called the Florida Marlins, right? And they decided, hey, let's just get behind a city, and that can. And teams change names, Devil Rays to Rays, and Mighty Ducks to Ducks, and so I don't know. I just think that something needs to happen because it's too good of a product, and no one's talking about it. And I think that some of these decisions, I'm questioning why they were made. But anyway, I'll digress. Unfortunately, we did not have a very good game this week against Philadelphia, which was one.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, Philadelphia is the 3rd-ranked team right now in the conference, and we have now fallen down to 13th ranked. We're still only 5 games back of the 8th seed, I think. So 6 games back of the 8th seed, 5 from the 9th, because that's the play-in. But so we're still in the running, but just that's a pretty poor result. What was your takeaway from this game?
I mean, there isn't really much to talk about. I mean, DC had 56% of the possessions and had 9 shots, including 5 on target, but Philly had 44% of the possessions, but they scored 3 goals off of 6 shots on target and 12 total. The goals were Jacob Glesnes, who in the 15th minute, Danley Jean Jacques in the 52nd minute, and then Bruno Damani in the 77th minute. DC just could not get on the board, and this was just a very embarrassing loss for them to drop them further down in was proving to be a very tough conference in the Eastern Conference. But one kind of positive is that news came out that they hold what's called discovery rights for a very well-known league player over in Europe in Paul Pogba, who hasn't played a professional game in almost 2 years after he was suspended after a PED violation. There was testosterone found in the system in a drug test held by Italy, and he was suspended actually for 4 years. He was banned from all soccer activities for 4 years, but it was dropped down to 18 months. And then in November of last year, he was actually let go from Juventus, who actually he was playing with. And so now he's currently a free agent. They hold discovery rights, which means that they have him on a list of players that they want to sign. And normally, if he was still with Juventus, they would have to wait until July 26th for the transfer window. But because he's a free agent, they can sign him whenever they feel like, whenever they want to. And he actually has some pretty impressive stats. He's played in 423 matches all time and has 73 goals, including 57 when he played either in the Premier League in Europe, in England, or in the Class A league in Spain. So he is very well accomplished, and sounds like he's a very good player. So it would be great to bring him in to pair him up with Christian Benteke and have another really accomplished goal scorer for this team, because as you can see, they've suffered quite a few shutouts this season, early on in this season. So they definitely need some goal scoring as well as some defense to be able to compete at this level.
Yeah, that'd be interesting for sure. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna talk about a little about the NHL playoffs in general, because I didn't go over the bracket during our hockey segment because we were running a little bit long. So I did want to get that in there. Toronto is up 3-1 over Ottawa. They have a chance to close out at home. That would be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Florida is up 3-1 over Tampa Bay. That next game is at 7:30 on Wednesday. It's a 7 o'clock game for Washington versus Montreal. They're up 3-1. We talked about that earlier. Carolina's up 3-1 over New Jersey after New Jersey did win game 3 at home, but then lost in a very similar way to in the Caps did, where Carolina put it on them at the end. That game will be on Tuesday at 7:30. Winnipeg versus the Blues. Winnipeg has struggled on the road. They do not look like the same team. So without the whiteout, they look very pedestrian. That series is tied 2-2. That shows back to the whiteout in Winnipeg on Wednesday, April 30th at 9:30 p.m. And we've been talking about this Colorado game against Dallas. That series is tied right now 2-2, but Dallas is up 5-2 at the second period of intermission. And then Vegas, Minnesota, that series is tied 2-2 tomorrow at 9:30. That will continue for game 5. And then LA, Edmonton, that series is tied 2-2 as well. And that series will continue tomorrow, Tuesday at 10 p.m. as well. So in the West, they're very close series. In the East, there are a lot of ones that are up 3-1. In fact, all 4 of the series are 3-1 versus all 4 of the series being 2-2. So it's kind of very different in the East versus the West in the NHL. But we will let you guys know next week how all of that turns out. I do want to switch to some wrestling talk. Let me put the No Spots graphic up. Champ, let people know what happened on the. It's always an exciting one with the SmackDown. After WrestleMania, some big moments. Obviously, a big open to the show. But let people know about that, and then any breaking news you have coming out of Raw, feel free to spoil away for that.
Well, one of the main things that happened with SmackDown is the renewal of one of the greatest rivalries of the modern WWE era, John Cena and Randy Orton. After Orton RKO'd Cena on Raw, they actually had a promo in the ring, which was really, really good. And it set up a match at Backlash, Cena versus Orton for the undisputed WWE Championship at Backlash. So we're going to get that rivalry once again. I can't wait to see how that's going to play out years down the line from when they were really like hardcore rivals during the PG era. And so there's that. Also, Tiffany Stratton looks like she has a new challenger, and it's old friend slash new old new nemesis and Nia Jax. So a lot has happened since then. Also, SmackDown was main evented. I had said, and I was the devil's advocate when a lot of people were not fans of the Street Profits DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns having their TLC match on SmackDown and now on WrestleMania. And then they went out there and had an absolute banger and had all the time in the world on SmackDown, with the Street Profits retaining the WWE Tag Team Championships in that TLC match. And they just proved why it was a good decision to put them on SmackDown in the main event, as opposed to somewhere in the middle of WrestleMania where they probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of time to be able to really show off and really do some really good things like they did. Now for Raw, Seth Rollins' alliance now that he has with Braun Breaker and with Paul Heyman, they tried to recruit Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn said no, and Braun Breaker absolutely destroyed him. So looks like that's going to be a thing now, that Sami Zayn is going to most likely reach out to an ally, maybe Roman Reigns from their days in the Bloodline, maybe not maybe not Jey Uso, because it looks like Jey Uso's next challenger is going to be Logan Paul. Logan Paul came out, called him out for a championship. Jey Uso said, if you want it, you can get it. And then backstage, after Jey had a conversation with Sammy about his decision, Logan Paul snuck them, got a sneak attack and punched him with his right hand to knock him out. So it looks like we're going to get that match at Backlash, most likely. And then another match that was made for Backlash after what happened to Pat McAfee last week at the hands of Walter. Walter and Pat McAfee are going to go one-on-one at Backlash. So that's happening. So that's what's going on.
That's so crazy. WWE. Why would... That's so wild to me. Pat McAfee is not going to be able to... He's going to get destroyed. I don't...
You haven't seen Pat McAfee wrestle.
I haven't, but...
Yeah, I'm about to say, I can tell you haven't seen Pat McAfee wrestle if you're assuming he's going to get destroyed. This man took one of the best wrestlers in all of wrestling, Adam Cole, to his limit when he was down in NXT during the pandemic era. And he actually wrestled against Baron Corbin at WrestleMania a couple of years ago on short notice and had a really good matchup as well. Pat McAfee can wrestle.
All right. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like Gunther needs a moment for a rising star. You know, like, it's just because he lost 2 WrestleMania moments in a row. I just would be interested to see if he lost at another, PLE sort of situation. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You're right. I have not watched him wrestle because I didn't watch during that time period. So, but maybe that'll be more interesting than I thought. So,
Pat McAfee is good. He's good, and I think he's going to give Gunther Walter a really good matchup at Backlash. I think Walter will win it, but Pat McAfee is going to give him a really good matchup. Or it could be a situation that Michael Cole could get involved, because it started with Walter trying to choke out Cole, and McAfee stood up to Walter and defended Cole, and that's what led to McAfee getting choked out by Walter. And so that's what's led to this whole situation, this matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cole does somehow get involved to help McAfee win, but maybe not. Who knows? But either way, that match is set. So they're really, what Backlash is a week from this Saturday, and they're already they're quickly building that card up for that premium live event in St. Louis.
Yeah, so I have to ask this question. There's been talk that some of the what are their names? They're not directors. What are they called? The GM. Sorry, GM might get involved in some of these matchups just because with Orton there's been some bad blood with the GMs and other things. Do you think that, or I could see it potentially where they could interfere in this match, in some sort of way, with the Pat McAfee one? Do you think that the GMs are going to make an appearance or have some influence on any of these matchups?
No, I don't think so. I think that Aldis and the Raw GM Scrap Daddy, I don't think they're going to get involved like that. Though, a lot of people would think Aldis would get involved given the fact that Randy Orton did RKO him in the lead up to WrestleMania, but I don't see Aldis getting involved in anything like that. I think Aldis is going to stay neutral and professional with it. If it does happen, I'll be pleasantly surprised, especially given the fact that both Aldis and Adam Pearce are both former NWA World Heavyweight Champions. So they are very accomplished wrestlers and whatnot, but I don't foresee them getting involved in ring business under any circumstances.
I just thought that there's already announcers getting involved. Wouldn't it be interesting if that was another level to the story and one of those storylines? So we'll see. I just wanted to put it out there here, and we can say at least we talked about it if it happens. So,
Yeah.
but any other thoughts or things that you wanted to share before we start to wind things up?
Yeah, I mean, New Japan right now, they're in the midst of their road to Wrestling Dontaku. They have Wrestling Dontaku and Fukuoka this coming weekend, and it'll be the final shows as contracted New Japan wrestlers for Tetsuya Naito, who was trained by New Japan, as well as Bushi, who also was trained by New Japan. And so it's going to be a lot of fanfare for that. Hiroki Goto is going to be defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Callum Newman, who just won the tag team titles back after he had to relinquish them after Jeff Cobb left the promotion. He's expected to most likely go to WWE. But he and Great Khan just won the titles back off of Goto and Yoshihashi of Bishamon. And so it's going to be, but now Goto is going to be defending his championship against Callum Newman. Newman's trying to become the youngest world heavyweight champion in New Japan history. I don't see that happening, but I would be pleasantly surprised if it did. But a lot going on there. AEW's got Double or Nothing coming up in a couple of weeks. It's a lot been going on there. I just finished watching Collision, and they got a lot going on there. TNA just had their pay-per-view Rebellion this past Sunday. I haven't finished watching that. I need to go and finish watching that. But it's a lot going on in wrestling. And by the way, I actually had a wrestling show yesterday, independent wrestling show that I do, Fight Club. And I forgot I had that show. I was literally doing lift and was dropping somebody off at the Rock Creek Golf Course when I got the message that that they had a show and I needed to be there. And so I managed to drop them off, got to my apartment, got my suit, and then got to the show in time before it started and had my involvement in there and whatnot. The next show is June the 22nd. And this time I'm not going to be late to that one because I already have a reminder in my calendar. But make sure you look up Fight Club Pro Wrestling for tickets and stuff like that. If you are in the DMV area, it's a great time, a great show. The main event was a hell of a matchup for their top championship, which is known as the Pan-African World Diaspora Wrestling Championship. Shug D, who is a independent wrestling journeyman, took on Chris Andino, who's someone I've known for a lot of years, who I've got to know as a friend and got to see grow as a wrestler. To be in the spot and to be in the main event was a hell of a main event. So I would implore those who are wrestling fans, if you live in the DMV area, to make sure you come out to a show.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the link. So I was going to share it, but it seems like it's just got the link for the February one, not this one. I'm trying to find it here on the page.
Well, you can just find out. You just check out their Facebook page. They usually put that information up on their Facebook page.
Got it. Okay. Is this the same? Just making sure I have the same one. Maybe they didn't put this last one up there.
Yeah, they didn't. That's why I forgot, because they didn't put the last one up.
Okay. All right. I was just making sure I had the right one. Is fight spelled with a number 1?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we do have the right one. I will drop this link then in chat. I just want to just trying to make sure. I was like, they didn't put a post since February, so I'm like, is this even the right thing?
Yeah, no, it's the same one.
Okay. There you go. There's the link in chat to facebook.com. And it's Fight Club Pro with a 1 for the I in fight. If you're trying to find it over there. And Champ, it's been super fun. Big show. We got to talk about the draft and wrestling and hockey and soccer and football and everything tonight. So I appreciate you riding shotgun as always with me, and definitely go check out your premiere episode is this weekend for the new season.
Yes, it is. Season 7 premieres this weekend. We're back. It's on Sunday. We're going to be talking about WrestleMania, giving our thoughts on our platform of WrestleMania, as well as the week that was and everything else. So make sure you tune in. It's going to be a huge show to premiere our 7th season of our podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Go check it out. I just did a shout out to it. True No Spots Pod on Twitch. You just do the live reacts. It's simul streamed on Facebook, right? It's these shows are just on Twitch. So
no, the live reacts are on both Twitch and on Facebook.
Right, the live reacts are on both, but this podcast will just be on.
No, this podcast, because it's a season premiere, will be on both.
On both. Okay, great. So if you want to check them out on Facebook as well, and you can definitely do that. I'm a fan of multi-streaming no matter what, just because it's easier to sometimes find it. But yeah, so you can check them on their Facebook page or on Twitch for this upcoming show. But Champ, I appreciate it as always. Well, let me just figure out a quick little place for us to raid. You tell me, video games or music. Give me that, and then I can figure it out from there.
Go music. Have something that could, get some chill vibes before people go to bed.
All right, there you go. All right, I'm looking at music real quick. There's a bunch of different cool people on. Let me see here. All right, big or small?
Small.
Okay. Let me see. I'm just gonna take a quick look to see what she's up to.
Okay, give me a second, guys.
Jazz, Simply Me. Let's just do it. I've never rated them before, so we can rate somebody new. Let me pull up the different raid messages there. We got sub raid, and then we got raid. So you can go check it out. You can grab whatever ones that you like. Thank you everyone again. It's been episode 372. We talked about the Caps winning 2 out of the 3 games, the NHL playoff update, NFL draft, NBA playoffs, and so many more things, from wrestling to baseball to soccer and UFL, and we talked about it all tonight. So I appreciate you, Champ. I really appreciate our hockey roundtable. It was great having Anna back, joining C4, and Gil. It was awesome having Dugenet back. Make sure you go check out Dugenet and his podcast as well, the Not Bland Show. Check out everybody's shows, Secure Them Off the Chain. We've got Power Play Point Podcast. We've obviously got the No Spots Podcast as well. Hopefully everybody will able to join. And thank you, Tina, for the resub earlier. And we are off. We'll be back next week. And we'll talk some more hockey. Hopefully the Caps can win one more game and get to the second round. Thank you guys so much.
Sayonara.